Chapter 691. From Feng Qing's expression, it could be determined that what she said was true. Qin Yu's thoughts raced. He lightly said, "I agree to this request. In addition, if your performance satisfies me and the situation is within my control, I will provide you with an additional guarantee of safety." Feng Qing was overjoyed. "Thank you." This was originally an additional request that she was planning to make in the future after she provided him with some help. For Qin Yu to agree on his own initiative was naturally for the best. Qin Yu said, "There's no hurry to thank me. Tell me your plan first." Feng Qing's tone became even more respectful. "Although I am the manager of Sky Declaring Pavilion on the surface, the various branches have stewards, and there are also elders patrolling everywhere. I cannot do things as I please. So, the best method is for you to become a member of Sky Declaring Pavilion so that I can make arrangements for you." Qin Yu's eyes flashed. "If your worries aren't false, then there should be people secretly monitoring you. Everything you do will be watched by others." Feng Qing nodded. "You are right. In order to avoid being discovered by others, you will need to find a suitable turning point." She paused. "Please forgive my daughter for being presumptuous, but in a situation where your cultivation is temporarily inconvenient, do you have any other abilities?" Qin Yu rubbed his chin. "What is the easiest way to enter Sky Declaring Pavilion?" "Alchemists and beast trainers. There has always been a shortage of masters in these aspects." Feng Qing revealed an awkward expression. "But Sky Declaring Pavilion has extremely high requirements. You must be sufficiently outstanding. For better or worse, Qin Yu had stayed in this world for some time and had learned some things. There wasn't much to say about alchemists, but beast trainers were a profession that specialized in raising powerful monster beasts. His cultivation hadn't been restored yet, so he temporarily couldn't walk the path of alchemy. But he could disguise himself as a beast trainer, but he still had to make sure. "Give me Sky Declaring Pavilion's criteria for recruiting beast trainers." Feng Qing didn't doubt him. She took out a jade slip and respectfully placed it on the table. Qin Yu's lips twitched. "Just tell me." Feng Qing revealed a look of surprise. She paused for a moment and then said, "Reporting to you, beast trainers that enter Sky Declaring Pavilion must be able to raise spirit food by themselves. They must control the method of raising it and ensure that the strength of the spirit beast can steadily increase. Moreover, they must complete the tasks assigned to them at each time period. If you can enter Sky Declaring Pavilion as a beast trainer, that would be for the best. This is because there are many times that materials needed to raise spirit beasts can also be used by cultivators. In terms of reporting losses and replenishing losses, I can relax the boundaries." But before she finished speaking, Qin Yu understood what she meant. The stronger a spirit beast was, the more precious the materials they could come into contact with would be, and vice versa. If one's level was ordinary, even if one could obtain materials from it, it would probably be of little value to divine Tao existences. Qin Yu had a general idea of what to do. "All right. I will enter Sky Declaring Pavilion as a beast trainer." It was impossible to see her depths from her expression. Feng Qing nodded and said, "Soon, Sky Declaring Pavilion will be holding a large-scale beast trainer recruitment event. Please give me your personal information and beast trainer rank, and I will help you complete the registration." She nodded. "Before long, Sky Declaring Pavilion will be holding a large-scale beast trainer recruitment event. Please give me your personal information and beast trainer rank, and I will help you complete the registration. Like this, you will be entering Sky Declaring Pavilion through normal procedures and won't arouse suspicion." Feng Qing looked up, her eyes filled with surprise. Beast trainers were divided into 3 ranks: Starry Sky, Silver Moon, and Great Sunday. Each rank was divided into low, middle, and high ranks. A high Silver Moon beast trainer could be respectfully called a Grandmaster. With the strength of a divine realm existence and their long lives, It wasn't impossible for them to become a high silver moon beast trainer. But what did that final probably mean? Could it be that Ning Qin was still holding back and was even stronger? But she could only bury these doubts in her heart. Feng Qing was smart enough not to ask. There are still over a dozen days until the beast trainer recruitment event begins. Do you need me to make arrangements for you during this time? Qin Yu said no need. Just give me the address and I will go there myself. Feng Qing mentioned several places where the beast trainer recruitment event would be held at the same time. Qin Yu remembered them and stood up. Miss Feng Qing, let's part ways here. He stepped out, not looking back as he said, Don't let Zhou Li know about my matters. I don't want there to be any complications. Feng Qing respectfully nodded. By the time she looked up, Qin Yu had already left. Is your soul damaged so you can't use your divine sense? If this was really the case, then his injuries were far more serious than she had imagined. By the time Zhou Li learned that Qin Yu had left, it was already the evening of the next day. Was it because of her previous attitude? For such a minor matter, she had actually missed out on Miss Feng Qing. This was a person who could change her destiny. She was simply too stupid. With such a narrow mind and shrewdness, she was destined to be mediocre for the rest of her life, unable to achieve anything at all. Across from him, Feng Qing's eyes flashed. She couldn't suppress the puzzlement in her heart. Zhou Li, is he really your fiancé? Her puzzled tone had a completely different meaning in Zhou Li's ears. Her face flushed red and she flatly denied, No, I only received his kindness in the past. Under the pressure of my family elders, I had no choice but to temporarily agree, but I absolutely will not be together with him. She didn't like such a worthless man. Ah, so that's how it is, Feng Qing said in a low voice. As she looked at Zhou Li, a strange light appeared in her eyes. With her intelligence, she soon guessed the relationship between Qin Yu and Zhou Li. It should be that the Zhou family had given him a great deal of help when he was injured. Thus he was especially taken care of. As Feng Qing thought about how a divine Tao existence was so unbearable in Zhou Li's eyes, she couldn't help but bitterly smile. She really didn't know how lucky she was if in the future Zhou Li were to learn the truth. Just what sort of expression would she have? With the speed of the purple-back blue-wing ants, even if Qin Yu carefully hid his tracks, he would still be able to smoothly return to Depression Village in 2 days. Without accident, this would be the last time he would come here. First, he would bid farewell to the 2 old men, and second, he would have to take away the unconscious chicken overlord. Ah. As she spoke, she gestured with her hands. The old granny had an anxious expression. After Qin Yu left, she hadn't had a good night's sleep. Although the old man was also anxious, he still managed to maintain his calm demeanor. He nodded to Qin Yu and said, You've worked hard to make this trip. He was increasingly satisfied with Qin Yu. He didn't know what had happened, but he was still willing to follow an immortal. This matter was enough to test Qin Yu's character. If Li could really be together with this boy Qin, that would be her good fortune. Qin Yu smiled. Old man, Granny, you don't need to worry. The immortal called me over because Li's performance was outstanding, and she was chosen by an even more formidable influence. She became the personal attendant of one of the young misses. Rest assured, this is a good thing. Li will definitely have good prospects in the future, and she will be filial to you. The old granny let out a long breath. She pressed her palms together, and every wrinkle on her joyful face was filled with sincerity. In this world, true Buddhist Tao existed. There was once an ascetic monk who passed through Depression Village and gave the villagers the love and care of spring. From that moment on, the old granny had become a Buddhist believer. The old man was stubborn. He humphed and said, It's not good for a girl to be too strong. It's fine if she just obediently follows the immortal and learns some skills. What are you doing? He waved his hand. Let's not talk about her. Old granny, go and kill a chicken. I will go to the village entrance and get some wine. Little boy Chin, you must have worked hard. Tonight, the two of us will have a good drink. The old granny chuckled and turned to grab a chicken. Chin, you held down the old man and picked up the bamboo wine barrel. You wait here, I will go and get some wine. When he returned with the barrel, the old granny hadn't even started killing the chicken. As she saw Chin Yu, she hurriedly gestured. The old man coughed and helplessly said, Old Granny said that the chicken in your room hasn't woken up for several days. It's most likely dying, so it's better to kill it while it's still alive. If it's dead, it won't taste good. Chin, you nearly laughed out loud. If the chicken overlord knew that it had almost been killed and stewed, its expression would surely be wonderful. He held back his laughter and made up a story. He said that the chicken had grown up together with him and that they had a deep relationship. The old granny patted Chin Yu's shoulder in praise. The old man said with a straight face, It's just a feathered animal. Even if you have feelings for it, you shouldn't be so stubborn. The dinner was sumptuous. The old man made an exception and drank several cups of wine. His face was flushed red as he pulled Chin Yu over and said many things. He even said that he wanted to start a family with Ali earlier and have more children. As Chin Yu heard this, he broke out in a cold sweat. He hurriedly helped the old man back to his room to rest. For the next several days, Chin Yu stayed at home. After the blackhorn sheep were transferred out, there was less work to do. He began to learn carpentry from the old man. Although the old man didn't say anything, one could tell from his smug smile that he was quite satisfied with Chin Yu's learning speed. Later, Chin Yu became the main force. The old man would occasionally give him pointers. He leaned back in his recliner and drank tea in satisfaction. Little boy Chin, this table and chair is very well made. In terms of carving patterns, it has already surpassed mine. It's all thanks to your good teaching, old man. Even though he knew that Chin Yu was talking nonsense, the old man still laughed happily. Chin Yu came over and picked up a cup of herbal tea. He finished it in one gulp. Old man, this is the last set of carpentry you have, right? The old man nodded. Yes, I can rest for a few days. Chin Yu smiled and put down the cup. He thought about how to speak, but he underestimated the old man's insight. The old man's sudden silence made the old man frown. He moved his lips and said in a low voice, Little boy Chin, you're leaving? Chin Yu was startled. He nodded calmly. Yes. He thought for a moment and was about to explain when he was interrupted by the old man. Say no more. Since you want to leave, you must have your own reasons. Elder Zhou exhaled. Youth is capital. It's not a bad idea to go out and explore the world while you're still young. However, you must remember that the world out there is full of sinister people. Don't put yourself in danger so easily. After all, good luck won't always be with you. Chin Yu respectfully bowed. Thank you for the reminder, old man. I will be careful. Remember, if you feel tired one day, come back to Woolly Village. Whether this old woman and I are here or not, this will always be your home. There will always be a bowl of rice and a bed for you. Chin Yu's heart warmed. Old man, I will remember your words. He didn't want to be haunted by the feeling of parting, so he joked, I will leave behind a pill. Remember to take one every month. Who knows, you might be able to live younger and give Ollie another relative. You little bastard. Hurry up and scram. The next day, as the sky began to brighten, Chin Yu walked out of the Zhou residence. He glanced at the small courtyard and then walked away without looking back. The ordinary and warm life of a mortal was a luxury to him. It was time to end it. Mr. Rong sat behind a desk, a faint smile on his face. He accepted the congratulations of his disciples, his demeanor radiant and radiant. The dark star ice serpent's sudden breakthrough had left the sect's high-level figures overjoyed. They immediately blocked off news of this and prepared to give their opponents a pleasant surprise in the Beast King War 2 months from now. At the same time, Mr. Rong had been given a massive number of incomparably precious and priceless rewards. As Mr. Rong's disciples, the several youths felt honored. Moreover, the higher their teacher's status in the sect was, the more benefits they would obtain. The envious looks of the other Grandmaster Beast Trainer disciples had left them feeling proud for a long time. Mr. Rong had a calm personality. He soon calmed his mind and lifted a hand. That's enough. Now that teacher's lineage is attracting attention, you should be even more cautious in your actions. Don't get carried away and be laughed at by others. Teacher's teachings are fine. Teacher is right. We disciples will remember. We will not allow teacher's face to be damaged. Looking at his respectful disciples, Mr. Rong revealed a gratified look. They were all youths with outstanding talent. As long as they worked hard and diligently, they would surely have great achievements in the future. But at this time he revealed a bit of surprise. Ziyue, your eyebrows are slightly furrowed. Is there something on your mind? Xiangzue respectfully said, Teacher, this disciple is just puzzled. Why did the dark star ice serpent suddenly advance? According to the statistical data and its recent performance, even if everything goes smoothly, it will take at least half a year before it can complete the accumulation of strength to advance. Moreover, after the dark star ice serpent advanced, although its strength has greatly increased and all aspects of its data are within the normal range, its mind is actually quite listless, and it is currently in a deep slumber. Mr. Rong revealed a look of praise. Very good. Ziyue, you can use realistic data as a starting point and not be overwhelmed by joy. This is very rare. To tell the truth, although teacher is confident that I can help the dark star ice serpent advance, as you said, it will take time. As for this sudden advancement, there are also some areas that teacher doesn't understand. If you have the energy, you can try unraveling it and see if you can obtain any harvests. Xiangzue put away the jade slip that recorded the data in her hands. She nodded and said, Very well, teacher. I will divide some of my energy into this aspect. If I obtain any harvests, I will report to you at any time. The Upper Prime mountain range stretched for nearly 1,000,000 miles. Although the terrain was dangerous and monster beasts frequently appeared, it was also because of this that it was rich in materials and attracted a massive number of cultivators. After a long time, hundreds of cities of different sizes rose from the ground in the mountains and forests, becoming shining pearls that decorated the dark mountains in the darkness of the night. Mid-Morning City was the largest and most dazzling of these several hundred pearls. As one of the publicly recognized strongest influences in the Upper Prime mountain range, Sky Declaring Pavilion would naturally set up their chess pieces in the city. Hum, hum. The low and deep humming sound quickly faded away. Not too far away from Mid-Morning City, Qin Yu calmly stepped out from a mountain. He calmly looked at the city that never slept. One of the locations that Feng Qing had left him for the beast trainer recruitment was in Mid-Morning City. But this wasn't the closest place to Depression Village. He had deliberately taken a detour to come here in order to avoid any future disasters that might occur to the Zhou family. With a thought, the flesh and blood on his face twisted, turning into a completely strange and ordinary face. Besides a pair of deep and serene eyes, this face didn't stand out at all in the crowd. After tidying himself up a bit, Qin Yu walked towards Mid-Morning City. There were only 2 days left until the date that Feng Qing had given him. After the dark star ice serpent advanced, it slept more than it woke up, and its spirit was dispirited. Luckily, this only lasted for 3 days before it returned to normal. The high-level figures of the sect let out a long breath of relief. Xiangzue could almost hear the disappointed sighs of the other beast trainer grandmasters. For these past 3 days, he had been at his teacher's side, busying himself with checking on the dark star ice serpent's condition. He had been so busy that he had fallen into a deep sleep. Only now did he have some free time. After cleaning himself up and about to rest, Xiangzue suddenly remembered that he had mentioned to his teacher 3 days ago that the dark star ice serpent had suddenly advanced. Should I go check it out after I wake up? After hesitating for several breaths of time, Xiangzi let out a deep breath. He gathered himself and went to the study, taking out the jade slip that recorded the Dark Star Ice Serpent's data. He was well aware that his talent could only be considered above average. The reason he was able to become one of the more outstanding disciples of his teacher was because he worked harder than others. After carefully examining the data, Xiangzi soon immersed himself in it, as if he didn't feel tired at all. He waited until the moon was high in the sky before he looked up from the massive amount of data. He subconsciously frowned. There wasn't anything different. Everything seemed normal, but this normalcy made Xiangzi feel that something was wrong. If there wasn't any external interference, how could the Dark Star Ice Serpent suddenly advance? Although it was possible for a bloodline mutation to occur, the chances were far too small. Moreover, after the Dark Star Ice Serpent reached adulthood, it had already opened a bloodline promotion ritual. The chances of another mutation were nearly zero. Just what is wrong? Xiangzi took a deep breath. He buried his head back into the data, trying to find the crux of the vast and complex records. After an unknown period of time, a simple and informal record fell into his eyes. This was a record made by the apprentice beast trainer that took care of the Dark Star Ice Serpent. This record contained information on the changes in the Dark Star Ice Serpent's blood vitality fluctuations. This record itself wasn't too valuable. In addition, another disciple of his teacher had already reviewed it and placed it into a file. Xiangzi had only skimmed through it before. If it weren't for the Dark Star Ice Serpent's sudden advancement arousing suspicion, he feared it would never be looked through again. But now, this set of data was like a spark in the dark night, illuminating the darkness and confusion in Xiangzi's heart. He immediately found other similar data records. After carefully extracting them, he was finally able to mark a simple diagram of the changes in the Dark Star Ice Serpent's blood vitality fluctuations before it advanced. This slightly raised curve caused Xiangzi's breathing to become heavier. But this alone wasn't enough. He needed more evidence. Xiangzi hurriedly gathered up the extracted data and pushed open the door. In the hazy darkness of the early morning, he stepped into the sect's treasury department. Here was the detailed data on the Dark Star Ice Serpent's meals. Xiangzi was well aware that no one else had approached the Dark Star Ice Serpent during this period of time. If so, then its advancement must be related to something it ate. With the data diagram, he quickly found the items the Dark Star Ice Serpent ate. In order to avoid any accidents and also to record the data, the sect's high-level spirit beasts 8 records were extremely important, and they were kept in an extremely complete state. Some of the more important items would be kept as samples. Only after the spirit beasts had eaten them would they be used again. This was to prevent the spirit beasts that the sect raised with great effort from being poisoned by hostile influences. Similar incidents had occurred many times in these past years. Xiangzi arrived just in time. The preserved items hadn't been taken away yet. After comparing them to the ordinary materials and not finding anything, he turned his attention to this. 2 hours later, Xiangzi looked at a light gray leaf in his hand. Its surface was covered with some sort of silver-white lines. Xiangzi's eyes widened in disbelief. He was stunned for a moment. Then he jumped up and knocked over a table. But he didn't seem to notice anything as he rushed out of the Treasury Department. TSK, did you see? These Lord Beast Trainers are usually a bit crazy. From now on, be good and stay far away from them. The old cultivator guarding the door had an experienced look on his face. The several young cultivators around him nodded. Qin Yu asked around and soon found where Sky Declaring Pavilion was located. The recruitment of a beast trainer was a major event, and there were special personnel to receive them. Mister, may I ask if you have already signed up? If you have, please inform us of your personal information. The female cultivator behind the counter smiled sweetly. Ning Qin. The female cultivator quickly looked up the information. Her mouth fell open as she hurriedly stood up. She respectfully said, "So it is Grandmaster Ningqin. Your initial examination has passed, and you may directly enter the final examination." The surroundings fell silent. Many people looked at him in astonishment before revealing awe. No one dared to tamper with their information. Sky Declaring Pavilion would also make a simple judgment, so there was no way to hide it. Without a doubt, this common-looking youth in front of them was a genuine beast trainer grandmaster. He hadn't thought of this, but with Feng Qing's status, it wasn't difficult for her to accomplish this. Qin Yu calmly nodded. The female cultivator handed over a black jade card. "Grandmaster Ningqin, your final examination time, location, and requirements are all written within. If you have any questions, you may come and ask them at any time." Then she handed over a card. "Because of your honored status, Sky Declaring Pavilion has already booked the best guest room in the city's beckoning moon court for you. This is the room card. Please accept it. All expenses incurred during the examination may be recorded on this card." "Thank you." After receiving the final examination jade card and letting go, Qinyu left in front of everyone. Grandmaster Rong looked down at the recorded data, his fingers trembling. After a long time, he closed his eyes and let out a long breath. "Ziwa, if your data isn't wrong, we should be able to find key material evidence in the treasury." Xiang Ziwa glanced at her teacher. She clenched her teeth and took out a blade of grass. "Teacher, I have already gone to the treasury and found the leaf of this ash thread grass." Ash thread grass. Grandmaster Rong took the leaf in his hand. By relying on his sharp senses as a beast trainer, he immediately sensed that this seemingly ordinary ash thread grass leaf contained some sort of unusual strength. He stood up and brought the ash thread grass leaf to the research room. After a moment, he looked at the data he obtained and shock filled his face. In order to ensure that the data was accurate, he immediately carried out 2 more identical experiments. The data he obtained was nearly the same. To think that such an amazingly effective ash thread grass exists in this world. The one who cultivated it must be a true Grandmaster level existence. Grandmaster Rong looked up, his voice resolute and decisive. "Report to the sect. We must find this Grandmaster no matter the cost." Chapter 691. The discovered ash thread grass. From Feng Qing's expression, it could be determined that what she said was true. Qin Yu's thoughts raced. He lightly said, "I agree to this request. In addition, if your performance satisfies me and the situation is within my control, I will provide you with an additional guarantee of safety." Feng Qing was overjoyed. "Thank you." This was originally an additional request that she was planning to make in the future after she provided him with some help. For Qin Yu to agree on his own initiative was naturally for the best. Qin Yu said, "There's no hurry to thank me. Tell me your plan first." Feng Qing's tone became even more respectful. "Although I am the manager of Sky Declaring Pavilion on the surface, the various branches have stewards, and there are also elders patrolling everywhere. I cannot do things as I please. So, the best method is for you to become a member of Sky Declaring Pavilion so that I can make arrangements for you." Qin Yu's eyes flashed. "If your worries aren't wrong, then there should be people secretly monitoring you. Everything you do will be watched by others." Feng Qing nodded. "What you say is correct. In order to avoid being discovered by others, we will need to find a suitable turning point." She paused for a moment. "Please forgive my daughter for being presumptuous. In a situation where your cultivation is temporarily inconvenient, do you have any other abilities?" Qin Yu rubbed his chin. "What is the easiest way to enter Sky Declaring Pavilion? Alchemists and beast trainers. There has always been a shortage of masters in these aspects." Feng Qing revealed an awkward expression. "But Sky Declaring Pavilion has extremely high requirements. You must be sufficiently outstanding. For better or worse, Qin Yu had stayed in this world for some time and had learned some things. There wasn't much to say about alchemists, but beast trainers were a profession that specialized in raising powerful monster beasts. His cultivation hadn't been restored yet, so he couldn't walk down the path of alchemy for the time being. But he could disguise himself as a beast trainer, but he still had to make sure. Give me Sky Declaring Pavilion's criteria for recruiting beast trainers. Feng Qing didn't doubt him. She took out a jade slip and respectfully placed it on the table. Qin Yu's lips twitched. Just tell me. Feng Qing revealed a look of surprise. She paused for a moment and then said, reporting to you, beast trainers that enter Sky Declaring Pavilion must be able to raise spirit food by themselves. They must control the method of raising them and ensure that the strength of the spirit beasts can steadily increase. Moreover, they must complete the tasks assigned to them at each time. If you can enter Sky Declaring Pavilion as a beast trainer, that would be for the best. This is because many times the materials needed to raise spirit beasts can also be used by cultivators. In terms of reporting losses and replenishing losses, I can relax the boundaries. It's just that, before she finished speaking, Qin Yu already understood what she meant. The stronger the spirit beast was, the more precious the materials they could come into contact with would be, and vice versa. If one's level was average, then even if they could obtain materials, they might still be of little value to a divine Tao existence. Qin Yu had a general idea of what to do. All right, I will enter Sky Declaring Pavilion as a beast trainer. It was impossible to see how deep his thoughts were from his expression. Feng Qing nodded. Soon, Sky Declaring Pavilion will be holding a large-scale beast trainer recruitment event. Please give me your personal information and beast trainer rank, and I will help you complete the registration. Like this, you will be entering Sky Declaring Pavilion through the normal procedures and won't arouse any suspicion. My name is Ning Qin. Blue Sea Realm, Cultivation. Beast Trainer Rank, High Silver Moon. Feng Qing looked up, her eyes filled with surprise. Beast trainers were divided into 3 ranks: Starry Sky, Silver Moon, and Great Sunday. Each rank was divided into low, middle, and high ranks. A High Silver Moon beast trainer could be respectfully called a Grandmaster. With the formidable strength of a divine Tao existence and their long lifespans, it wasn't impossible for them to become a High Silver Moon beast trainer. But what did that final probably mean? Could it be that Ning Qin was still holding back? Could he be even stronger? But she could only bury these doubts in her heart. Feng Qing was smart enough not to ask. There's still over a dozen days until the beast trainer recruitment event begins. Do you need me to make arrangements for you during this time? Qin Yu said no need. Just give me the address, and I will go there myself. Feng Qing mentioned several places where the beast trainer recruitment event would be held at the same time. Qin Yu memorized them and stood up. Miss Feng Qing, let's part ways here. He stepped out, not looking back as he said, Do not let Zhou Li know about my matters. I don't want any side issues to crop up. Feng Qing respectfully nodded. When she looked up, Qin Yu had already left. Is your soul damaged so you can't use your divine sense? If this was really the case, then his injuries were far more serious than she had imagined. By the time Zhou Li learned that Qin Yu had left, it was already the evening of the next day. Was it because of his previous attitude? For such a minor matter, he had actually missed out on Miss Feng Qing. This was a person who could change his destiny, a person who was so incredibly stupid. With such a narrow mind and shrewdness, he was destined to live a mediocre life. It would be difficult for him to achieve anything. Across from him, Feng Qing's eyes flashed. In the end, she wasn't able to suppress the puzzlement in her heart. Zhou Li, is he really your fiancé? Her puzzled tone had a completely different meaning in Zhou Li's ears. Her face flushed red, and she flatly denied, He isn't. I only received his graciousness in the past. Under the pressure of my family's elders, I had no choice but to temporarily agree, but I absolutely will not be together with him. She didn't like such a worthless man. Ah, so that's how it is. Feng Qing whispered. She looked at Zhou Li, a strange light in her eyes. With her intelligence, she soon guessed the relationship between Qin Yu and Zhou Li. It should be because the Zhou family had given him a great deal of help when he was injured, so this was the reason he was especially taken care of. As Feng Qing thought about how a divine Tao existence was so unbearable in Zhou Li's eyes, she couldn't help but bitterly smile. She really didn't know how lucky she was if in the future Zhou Li learned the truth. Just what sort of expression would he have? With the speed of the purple-backed blue-wing ants, even if Qin Yu carefully hid his tracks, he would still be able to smoothly return to Depression Village in 2 days. Without accident, this would be the last time he would come here. First, he would bid farewell to the 2 old men, and second, he would have to take away the unconscious chicken overlord. Ah. As she spoke, she gestured with her hands. The granny had an anxious expression. After Qin Yu left, she hadn't had a good night's sleep. Although the old man was anxious, he still managed to maintain his calm demeanor. He nodded at Qin Yu and said, "It's been hard on you to make this trip." He was increasingly satisfied with Qin Yu. He didn't know what had happened, but he was still willing to follow an immortal. This matter was enough to test Qin Yu's character. If Li could really be together with this boy Qin, that would be her good fortune. Qin Yu smiled. "Old man, Granny, you don't need to worry. The reason the immortal called me over is because Li's performance was outstanding, and she was chosen by an even more formidable influence. She became the personal attendant of one of the young misses. Rest assured, this is a good thing. Li will definitely have good prospects in the future, and she will be filial to you." The granny let out a long breath and clasped her hands together. On her joyful face, every wrinkle was filled with sincerity. There was true Buddhism in this world. There was once an ascetic who passed by Wuli village and gave the villagers the care and help of spring. From then on, the granny became a Buddhist believer. The old man was stubborn. He snorted and said, "It's not good for a girl to be too headstrong. She should just obediently follow the immortal and learn some skills. What's the point of messing around?" He waved his hand. "Let's not talk about her. Old woman, go and kill a chicken. I'll go to the village entrance to get some wine. Little Qin, you've worked hard. Let's have a good drink tonight." The granny agreed with a smile and turned to grab the chicken. Qin Yu pressed down on the old man and picked up the bamboo wine tube. "Wait here, I'll go get some wine." When he returned with the bamboo barrel, the granny hadn't even started killing the chicken. When she saw Qin Yu, she quickly gestured with her hands. The old man coughed. He helplessly said, "Old woman said that the chicken in your room hasn't woken up for several days. It's most likely on the verge of death. You might as well kill it while it's still alive and eat its meat. If it's dead, it won't taste good." Qin Yu nearly laughed out loud. If the chicken overlord knew that it had almost been killed and stewed, its expression would surely be wonderful. He held back his laughter and made up a story. He said that the chicken had grown up together with him and that they had a deep relationship. The granny patted Qin Yu's shoulder in praise. The old man said with a straight face, "It's just a feathered animal. Even if you have feelings, you shouldn't be so stubborn." The dinner was very sumptuous. The old man made an exception and drank several cups. His face was flushed red as he pulled Qin Yu over and said many things. He even said that he wanted to start a family with Li and have a few more children. Hearing this, Qin Yu broke out in a cold sweat. He hurriedly helped the old man back to his room to rest. For the next few days, Qin Yu stayed at home. After the black-horned sheep were transferred out, there was less work to do. He learned carpentry from the old man. Although old man Zhou didn't say anything, one could tell from his smug smile that he was quite satisfied with Qin Yu's learning speed. Afterwards, Qin Yu became the main force. Old man Zhou would occasionally give him pointers. He reclined in his chair and drank tea, feeling quite content. "Brat Qin, these tables and chairs are very well made. In terms of carving patterns, They have already surpassed me. This is all because of the good teachings of the old man. Even though Old Man Joe knew that Qin Yu was speaking nonsense, he still laughed heartily. Qin Yu walked over and picked up a cup of herbal tea, drinking it in one gulp. Old man, is this the last set of carpentry that you have? The old man nodded. Yes, I can rest for several days. Qin Yu smiled as he laid down the teacup. He thought about how to speak, but he had underestimated this old man's insight. His sudden silence caused Old Man Joe to frown. His lips moved and he said in a low voice, Brat Qin, you want to leave? Qin Yu was startled. He immediately nodded. Yes. He thought for a moment and was about to explain when he was interrupted by the old man. There's no need to say more. Since you want to leave, you must have your own reasons. Old Man Joe sighed. Youth is capital. Taking advantage of your youth, it's not a bad idea to go out and explore the world. But you must remember that the outside world is full of evil people. Don't put yourself in danger easily. After all, good luck won't always be by your side. Qin Yu bowed respectfully. Thank you for the reminder, old man. I will definitely be more careful. Remember, if you feel tired one day, come back to Woolly Village. Whether this old woman and I are here or not, this will always be your home. There will always be a bowl of rice and a bed for you. Qin Yu's heart warmed. Old man, I will remember your words. Not wanting to be haunted by the emotions of parting, he joked. I will leave behind a pill. Remember to take one every month. Who knows, you might become younger and give Ali another relative. You brat! Scram! The next day, as the skies began to brighten, Qin Yu left the Zhou family. He glanced at the small courtyard and then left without looking back. To him, the simple and warm life of a mortal was a luxury. It was time to end it. Mr. Rong sat behind a desk, a faint smile on his face. He accepted the congratulations of his disciples, his demeanor radiant and radiant. The Dark Star Ice Serpent's sudden breakthrough had left the sect's high-level figures overjoyed. They immediately blocked off news of this and prepared to give their opponents a pleasant surprise in the Beast King War 2 months from now. At the same time, Mr. Rong had been given a massive number of incomparably precious and priceless rewards. As Mr. Rong's disciples, the several youths felt honored. Moreover, the higher their teacher's status in the sect was, the more benefits they would obtain. Today, the other Grandmaster Beast Trainer disciples had envious looks on their faces, causing them to feel proud for a long time. Mr. Rong had a calm personality. He quickly composed himself and lifted a hand. That's enough. Now that my lineage is attracting attention, you should be even more cautious in your actions. Don't forget yourself and be laughed at by others. It doesn't matter if I teach you. Teacher is right. We disciples will remember. We will not allow teacher's face to be damaged. Looking at his respectful disciples, Mr. Rong revealed a gratified look. They were all youths with outstanding talent. As long as they worked hard and diligently, they would surely have great achievements in the future. But at this time he revealed a bit of surprise. Ziyue, your eyebrows are slightly furrowed. Is there something on your mind? Xiang Ziyue respectfully said, Teacher, this disciple is just puzzled. Why did the Dark Star Ice Serpent suddenly advance? According to the statistical data and its recent performance, even if everything goes smoothly, it will still take at least half a year before it can complete the accumulation of strength to advance. Moreover, after the Dark Star Ice Serpent advanced, although its strength has greatly increased and all aspects of its data are within the normal range, its spirit is actually a bit sluggish and it is still in a deep slumber. Mr. Rong revealed a look of praise. Very good. Ziyue, you were able to use realistic data as a starting point and not be overwhelmed by joy. This is very rare. To tell the truth, although I am confident that I can help the Dark Star Ice Serpent advance, as you said, it will take time. As for this sudden advancement, there are also some areas that I don't understand. If you have the energy, You can try to unravel it and see if you can obtain any harvests. Xiang Ziyue put away the jade slip that recorded the data in her hands. She nodded and said, "Very well, teacher. I will divert some of my energy into this aspect. If I have any harvests, I will report to you at any time." The Upper Prime mountain range stretched for nearly 1,000,000 miles. Although the terrain was dangerous and monster beasts frequently appeared, it was also because of this that it contained rich resources that a massive number of cultivators were attracted to it. After a long time, hundreds of cities of different sizes rose from the ground in the mountains and forests, becoming shining pearls that decorated the dark mountains in the darkness of the night. Amongst these several hundred pearls, Mid-Morning City was the largest and most dazzling one. As one of the publicly recognized strongest influences in the Upper Prime mountain range, Sky Declaring Pavilion naturally placed their chess pieces in the city. Hum! Hum! The low and deep humming sound quickly faded away. In a mountain not too far away from Mid-Morning City, Qin Yu walked out with steady steps. He calmly looked at the city that never slept. One of the locations that Feng Qing had given him for the beast trainer recruitment was in Mid-Morning City. But this wasn't the closest place to Depression Village. He had deliberately taken a long detour to come here in order to avoid any future disasters that might occur to the Zhou family. With a thought, the flesh and blood on his face twisted, turning into a completely strange and ordinary face. Besides a pair of deep and serene eyes, this face didn't stand out at all in the crowd. After tidying himself up a bit, Qin Yu walked towards Mid-Morning City. There were only 2 days left until the date that Feng Qing had given him for the recruitment. After the Dark Star Ice Serpent advanced, it slept more than it woke up, and its spirit was dispirited. Luckily, this only lasted for 3 days before it returned to normal. The high-level figures of the sect let out a long sigh of relief. Xiang Ziyue could almost hear the disappointed sighs of the other beast trainer grandmasters. For these past 3 days, he had been at his teacher's side, busying himself with checking on the Dark Star Ice Serpent's condition. He had been so busy that he had lost his mind. It was only now that he had some free time. After cleaning himself up and about to rest, Xiang Ziyue suddenly remembered that he had mentioned to his teacher 3 days ago that the Dark Star Ice Serpent had suddenly advanced. Should I go check it out after I wake up? After hesitating for several breaths of time, Xiang Ziyue let out a deep breath. He gathered himself and went to the study, taking out the jade slip that recorded the Dark Star Ice Serpent's data. He was well aware that his martial talent was only above average. The reason he was able to become one of the more outstanding disciples of his teacher was because he worked harder than others. After carefully examining the data, Xiang Ziyue soon immersed himself in it, as if he didn't feel tired at all. It was only when the moon hung high in the sky that he looked up from the massive amount of data. He subconsciously frowned. There wasn't anything different. Everything seemed normal. But this normalcy made Xiang Ziyue feel that something was wrong. If there wasn't any external interference, how could the Dark Star Ice Serpent suddenly advance? Although it was possible for a bloodline mutation to occur, the chances were far too small. Moreover, after the Dark Star Ice Serpent reached adulthood, it had already opened a bloodline promotion ritual. The chances of another mutation were nearly zero. Just what is wrong? Xiang Ziyue took a deep breath and immersed himself in the data once more. He tried to find the crux of the vast and complex records. After an unknown period of time, a simple and informal record fell into his eyes. This was a record made by the apprentice beast trainer that took care of the Dark Star Ice Serpent. This record contained information on the changes in the Dark Star Ice Serpent's blood vitality fluctuations. This record itself wasn't too valuable. In addition, it had already been reviewed by another disciple of his teacher and placed into a file. Xiang Ziyue had only skimmed through it before. If it weren't for the Dark Star Ice Serpent's sudden advancement arousing suspicions, this record might never have been looked through again. But now, this set of data was like a spark in the dark night, illuminating the darkness and confusion in Xiang Ziyue's heart. He immediately found other similar data records. After carefully extracting them, he was finally able to mark a simple diagram of the changes in the dark star ice serpent's blood vitality fluctuations before it advanced. This slight curve caused Xiang Ziyue's breath to quicken. But this alone wasn't enough. He needed more evidence. Xiang Ziyue hurriedly gathered up the extracted data and pushed open the door. Against the hazy darkness of the early morning, he stepped into the sect's treasury department. Here was the detailed data on what the dark star ice serpent had eaten. Xiang Ziyue was well aware that no one else had approached the dark star ice serpent during this time. If so, then its advancement must be related to something it had eaten. With the data diagram, he quickly found the items that the dark star ice serpent had eaten. In order to avoid any accidents and also to record the data, the sect's high-level spirit beasts feeding records were extremely important, and they were kept in an extremely complete state. Some of the more important items would be kept as samples. Only after it was determined that the spirit beasts hadn't eaten anything wrong would they be used again. This was to prevent the spirit beasts that the sect had painstakingly raised from being poisoned and murdered by hostile influences. Similar incidents had occurred many times in these past years. Xiang Ziyue arrived just in time. The items that had been kept as samples hadn't been taken away yet. After comparing them to the ordinary materials and not finding anything, he turned his attention to this place. 2 hours later, Xiang Ziyue looked at a light gray leaf in his hand. Its surface was covered with some sort of silver-white lines. Xiang Ziyue's eyes widened in disbelief. He was stunned for a moment. Then he jumped up and knocked over a table. But he didn't seem to notice this at all. He rushed out of the warehouse. TSK, did you see? These Lord Beast Trainers are usually a bit crazy. From now on, be good and stay far away from them. The old cultivator guarding the door had an experienced look on his face. The several young cultivators around him nodded. Qin Yu asked around and found where Sky Declaring Pavilion was located. The recruitment of a beast trainer was a major event, and there were specialized personnel there to receive them. Mister, may I ask if you have already registered? If you have, please inform us of your personal information. The female cultivator behind the counter smiled sweetly. Ning Qin. The female cultivator quickly looked up the information. Her mouth fell open, and she quickly stood up. She respectfully said, "So it is Grandmaster Ning Qin. Your initial examination has passed, and you may directly enter the final examination." The surroundings fell silent. Many people looked at him in astonishment before revealing awe. No one dared to tamper with their information. Sky Declaring Pavilion would also make a simple judgment, so there was no way to hide it. Without a doubt, this common-looking youth in front of them was a genuine beast trainer, grandmaster. He hadn't thought of this, but with Feng Qing's status, it wasn't difficult for her to accomplish this. Qin Yu calmly nodded. The female cultivator handed over a black jade card. Grandmaster Ning Qin, your final examination time, location, and requirements are all written within. If you have any questions, you can come and ask them at any time. Then she handed over a card. Because of your honored status, Sky Declaring Pavilion has already booked the best guest room in the city's beckoning moon court for you. This is the room card. Please accept it. All expenses incurred during the examination may be recorded on this card. Thank you. After receiving the final examination jade card and letting go, Qin Yu left in front of everyone. Grandmaster Rong looked down at the recorded data. His fingers trembled. After a long time, he closed his eyes and let out a long breath. Ziyue, if your data isn't wrong, we should be able to find key material evidence in the warehouse. Xiang Ziyue glanced at her teacher. She clenched her teeth and took out a blade of grass. Teacher, I have already gone to the warehouse and found the leaf of this ash thread grass. Ash thread grass? Grandmaster Rong took the leaf in his hand. By relying on his sharp senses as a beast trainer, he immediately sensed that this seemingly ordinary ash thread grass leaf contained some sort of unusual strength. He stood up and brought the ash thread grass leaf to the research room. After a moment, he looked at the data he obtained and his face filled with shock. In order to ensure that the data was accurate, he immediately carried out 2 more identical experiments. The data he obtained was nearly the same. To think that such an astonishing ash thread grass exists in this world. The one who cultivated it must be a true Grandmaster level existence. Chapter 692. Teacher. Xiang Ziyue had a complex expression. Master Rong smiled. What? Did you think that teacher would conceal this matter and keep the reward from the sect? No, this disciple wouldn't dare. Teacher has received the sect's offerings, so I will do my best. You should have already realized how important this ash threadgrass is to the Dark Star Ice Serpent. Master Rong's tone was solemn. You are the disciple I value the most. In the future, you must remember that there are things in this world that you cannot do. Even if you face greater temptations, you must uphold the integrity and bottom line of a beast trainer. Xiang Ziyue had an excited expression. She respectfully bowed. Teacher, you will always be my role model. You will always illuminate the road ahead for me. She took several steps back and hurried away. The high-level figures of the Hidden Fog sect were shaken. They summoned several beast trainer grandmasters to verify the data Xiang Ziyue provided and the effects of the ash threadgrass. Their eyes filled with excitement. According to the conclusion of the several beast trainer grandmasters, this ash threadgrass contained a strange strength that could stimulate the Dark Star Ice Serpent's bloodline. Once it accumulated enough strength, it could naturally make a breakthrough. This time, the reason that the Dark Star Ice Serpent seemed dispirited after its advancement was because it had accumulated insufficient strength. It had used up its flesh and blood essence energy to make a breakthrough. In theory, as long as it obtained enough of the same ash thread grass, the Dark Star Ice Serpent's future advancements would be smooth. Even if it developed resistance towards medicinal properties and the effects decreased, that would only happen after 2 or even 3 more advancements. The high-level figures of the Hidden Fog sect could already see themselves surpassing their ancestors and raising the strongest guardian spirit beast of the sect. If they could smoothly accomplish this, then with the Dark Star Ice Serpent's protection, the Hidden Fog sect's tens of thousands of years of foundation would be preserved. This was the greatest event that allowed the inheritance of the sect to continue its teachings. The various factions within the Hidden Fog sect had reached an unprecedented unity. Hurry! Find the source of this ash threadgrass. This matter concerns the tens of thousands of years of our sect's foundation. This matter must be kept secret and not known by outsiders. No matter the price, we must ask that Grandmaster to help us and provide a batch of precious ash threadgrass to our Hidden Fog sect. Thanks to the foresight of the sect's ancestors, they had detailed records of materials used by high-level spirit beasts. They soon locked onto its source. Upper Prime Mountain Range, Descendant City. The Greenwood Hall was a shop that Zhenmu had stationed in Kuan City. It mainly sold all kinds of precious spiritual items cultivated by the Zhenmu sect. At the same time, it also had the function of gathering information. The original shopkeeper of this place was an early divine soul realm cultivator. After waiting for nearly 100 years, a replacement finally arrived. He didn't even have time to pack up his things before he happily departed on the same day. For the cultivators of the True Wood faction, cultivating in the outside world was not as comfortable as cultivating in their own sect. With the sect's grand array gathering the world's verdant wood aura, it was enough to increase their cultivation speed by several folds. The new shopkeeper was a young cultivator. It was said that he was a disciple of the very powerful Elder Yu Qing. But not long ago, after a storm, Elder Yu Qing lost a great deal of face and became the laughingstock of the sect. The sect master's faction took advantage of this opportunity to expel him and take away a lot of his power. This new shopkeeper was clearly one of the sacrifices. Otherwise, how could an elder's disciple with extraordinary potential be sent to such a place that was akin to being exiled? Sensing the cold and gloomy aura of the new innkeeper in the inner hall, the subordinates sensibly stayed far away from him. They greeted their customers separately, afraid that they would be blamed if they were not careful. But when would such days come to an end? As everyone was groaning inwardly, the light at the entrance flickered and 3 figures walked in. At the front was a thin old man. Behind him was a middle-aged man with a scholarly aura and a tall and sturdy red-skinned man with his eyes closed. "What do the 3 of you need?" A verdant wood sect cultivator hurried forwards. This was an immortal shop, and there was an enchantment placed outside. Only cultivators could enter. The thin old man's voice was hoarse. "About 2 months ago, you sold a mutated ash threadgrass here. The buyer was Peng Cheng's cheesy chamber of commerce. I am the final user of this ash threadgrass, and there are some matters I need to inquire of you." The verdant wood sect cultivator's complexion changed. He still remembered this matter. After all, the reason Zhou Li was able to enter the Truewood faction was because of this ash threadgrass. Afterwards, it had caused a storm and left a deep impression on him. Now, someone had come knocking on his door. Was there something wrong with that ash threadgrass? This was truly a great problem. "Cough! 3 guests, please wait a moment. This matter is not something I can handle. Please allow me to ask the shopkeeper to come out." The thin old man nodded. The manservant hurried into the hall. A few breaths later, with an angry snort, the new shopkeeper walked out with a sullen expression. 3 guests, so much time has passed. No one knows if there were any accidents during the delivery process. Are you going to cause trouble for my Truewood sect just because of a mere ash thread grass? Several guests in the hall turned their heads and looked at him with puzzled eyes. The mutated ash thread grass was extremely precious to ordinary mortals, but to cultivators, it was just a relatively rare spirit herb. Even if it had some value, it was not worth it. Furthermore, this shop was opened by the Truewood sect. It was not a wise decision to become enemies with them over a spirit herb. Several Truewood sect disciples widened their eyes. They did not expect the new shopkeeper to be such an idiot. If he could not say such words out loud, wouldn't he be giving himself away? He was confessing without being pressed. The thin old man furrowed his eyebrows and a cold light appeared in his eyes. "I have no intention of causing trouble. You only need to tell me the source of this ash threadgrass." The new shopkeeper sneered. "Since there is no problem with the ash threadgrass sold in the shop, I have nothing else to say. If there is nothing else, please leave." How insolent! The thin old man lifted his hand and grasped it. A terrifying strength gushed out from the void. Before anyone could clearly see his movements, the new shopkeeper had already been grabbed by the throat. "Old Wei, please calm your anger," the white-faced, middle-aged man hurriedly said. Old Wei's eyes flashed with a scarlet red light. His tone was icy cold, every word filled with a ruthlessness that left one despairing. "Answer my questions honestly. This is your last chance." The new shopkeeper loosened his grip. He gasped for breath, his face deathly pale. "This person dared to kill me. He actually dared to kill me." When the manservant reported, the new shopkeeper was sure that this was his chance for revenge. The reason why he had fallen to such a state was all because of Jolie, and these people had come for her. His thoughts raced. He decided to deliberately provoke these people so that they wouldn't hesitate to pursue the matter because of Zhou Li's current status. But he never imagined that he would nearly lose his life because of this. The new shopkeeper didn't doubt that if it weren't for the middle-aged man speaking up just now, he would already be dead. Just where did these people come from? They acted so overbearingly and didn't place the true with sect in their eyes at all. But there was one thing he was sure of. They absolutely had extraordinary backgrounds and didn't fear Sky declaring pavilion. Zhou Li, you caused me to fall to such a state. This is your retribution. Senior, please calm your anger. I will immediately go check the files. Hurry, hurry, what are you waiting for? A moment later, Old Wei obtained all the information. He turned and left with the other two. Sky declaring pavilion. He frowned, a dignified expression on his face. Grandmaster Rome, what do you think about this matter? The white-faced and scholarly man was one of the Hidden Fog sect's beast trainer grandmasters, Rong Wei. He thought for a moment and said, it should just be a coincidence. If Sky declaring pavilion really knew that this female cultivator named Zhou Li might know a grandmaster-level existence that cultivates spiritual objects, they would never have allowed her to become Fengqing's maid. Rong Wei's eyes flashed. He continued to say, moreover, that true wood sect cultivator just now should have deliberately provoked Old Wei in order to use you to continue investigating the matter of the ash-line grass. There must be some sort of grudge between this person and Zhou Li. If Zhou Li's relationship with that grandmaster is exposed, this person absolutely wouldn't dare to do such a thing. Old Wei revealed a faint smile. Grandmaster Rong's words coincide with mine, but as for the specifics, I will need to verify them. Because the recent events that occurred in the True Wood sect had taken place during the Great Sect meeting, it was impossible to keep it a secret. It had already spread far and wide. It didn't take too much time for the Hidden Fog sect's group of 3 to determine that no one had discovered the relationship between Zhou Li and that mysterious grandmaster. Sky declaring pavilion is tyrannically strong. Although my Hidden Fog sect doesn't fear them, it isn't good for us to casually offend them. It would be best if we could think of a way to have them hand Zhou Li over to us on their own initiative. Old Wei muttered to himself. Then his eyes brightened. I've got it. Rong Wei frowned. Old Wei wants to use the ash-line grass as an excuse? Old Wei knew that Qin Yu was a righteous person. He smiled and explained, it's just a stopgap measure. As long as Zhou Li reveals information about that grandmaster, not only will I not make things difficult for her, but I will even reward her handsomely. Rong Wei thought for a moment and slowly nodded. For now, that's all I can do. Beckoning Moon Court. Qin Yu was carefully reading through the detailed information on beast trainers in order to have a good grasp of the situation so that he wouldn't be exposed. The spiritual objects needed to raise monster beasts weren't difficult for him. The little blue lamp had always been successful in every endeavor. The only difficulty was how to make a spirit beast recognize him as a beast trainer. It had to be known that an official beast trainer had to have a formidable affinity and be able to obtain the monster beast's approval. Otherwise, it would be impossible to collect all sorts of detailed data on it. He laid down the book and rubbed his temples. This is the best choice. Although it isn't perfect, I can only take it one step at a time. In the worst-case scenario, even if he couldn't obtain the monster beast's approval, as long as he could raise high-quality spiritual objects, Sky declaring pavilion would tacitly allow him to stay. Fengqing withdrew her divine sense from the jade slip. She frowned, a dignified expression on her face. Standing at the side, Zhou Li was surprised. During this period of time, she had been at the young Miss's side. She had never seen her with such an expression. Miss, is there something wrong? Fengqing took a deep breath, her complexion relaxing a little. It's just an accident, it's fine. She thought for a moment and then stood up. I will go and deal with it. You stay here and cultivate. Yes, miss. As she left, there were already Sky declaring pavilion cultivators waiting outside. They looked behind Fengqing and respectfully said, Miss, are you prepared to protect her? The Hidden Fog sect was tyrannically strong, and there were countless masters in their ranks. They weren't a force to be trifled with. Fengqing said, Don't make this matter public for the time being. I will handle it appropriately. Yes. The person turned and left, a puzzled expression on his face. Although the young miss had a good heart, after all these years of experience, she was able to control her emotions. So, why was she treating Jolie differently? Feng Qing certainly wouldn't tell him that there was someone standing behind Jolie. Someone she didn't even know was a divine realm expert. Even if she had to tear apart all pretense of cordiality with the Hidden Fog sect, she would never hand over Jolie. Moreover, she faintly guessed that the ash-line grass that Jolie had used to change her destiny should have been Qin Yu's handiwork. If it really was Qin Yu's creation, how could there have been a problem? Or could it be that the Hidden Fog sect had discovered that there was something different about the ash-line grass? This was simply an excuse for them to approach Qin Yu. Feng Qing certainly didn't want others to discover Qin Yu's existence. But this matter involved Jolie, so she didn't dare to make a decision on her own. Her thoughts raced. Feng Qing summoned a cultivator and had him look up the beast trainer recruitment procedures. Soon, she found Ning Qin's registration information. He was currently in Mid-Morning City. Feng Qing didn't dare to contact him through Sky Declaring Pavilion's intelligence network in order to avoid ruining her plans. She quickly wrote a letter and placed it in a bamboo tube. She tied it to the leg of a small black bird and whispered some words into its ear. Then she let go, and the small black bird shot into the air like an arrow, vanishing from sight in the blink of an eye. This small black bird didn't seem remarkable, but it possessed the bloodline of an ancient monster beast. It was skilled at hiding its tracks, and its speed was even more astonishing. It only needed a day to cross mountains and rivers to reach Mid-Morning City. As for what to do, that will be up to you to decide. Sky Declaring Pavilion's reply was that they needed to consider it and that the Hidden Fog sect should wait for a moment. Old Wei's complexion sank. He sneered. These past years, Sky Declaring Pavilion has become increasingly domineering. Even for such a minor matter, they want to throw away my Hidden Fog sect's face. I want to see just what they want to do. This matter concerned the Dark Star Ice Serpent's future advancement, so the sect attached great importance to it. They couldn't allow any mistakes to occur. As long as they could ultimately achieve their goal, even falling out with Sky Declaring Pavilion was worth it. Old Wei suspects that Sky Declaring Pavilion has already sensed something. Rong Wei furrowed his eyebrows. I don't think so. Otherwise, Sky Declaring Pavilion's reply would be much more reliable. Old Wei's expression relaxed. Grandmaster Rong, what do you mean? Rong Wei said, I actually think that this is a good thing. It is impossible for Sky Declaring Pavilion to make us wait for a maid, unless the authority to deal with this maid isn't in their hands. Old Wei, we might as well wait patiently. Perhaps we will soon have an unexpected harvest. Qin Yu looked at the small black bird outside the window. The bamboo tube that held the letter on its leg was particularly eye-catching. At this time, the only one who had the ability to communicate with him like this should be Feng Qing. Could there be a change in the situation? He took the small bird in his hand and took off the bamboo tube. He quickly looked over the contents and subconsciously frowned. The ash thread grass for Jolie? This was indeed unexpected. So much time had passed, yet it was still noticed. Was it because after the little blue lamp shined on the ash thread grass, something unusual had happened? This was the only possibility that could explain the current situation. This caused Qin Yu to be secretly vigilant. The beast trainers of this world seemed to have some sort of keen sense that they could actually sense this. If someone discovered the secret of the little blue lamp because of this, then that would be a big joke. He warned himself that he had to be more cautious in the future. Then he had to consider what he should do next. The Hidden Fog sect clearly wanted Sky Declaring Pavilion to hand over Jolie. If he didn't appear, then the Hidden Fog sect likely wouldn't give up. But if they made excessive demands, what should he do? After a long time, Qin Yu let out a light breath, a firm expression on his face. Since it was because of him that something had happened, he naturally couldn't stay out of it. Now that he had restored a portion of his strength and had the help of the ant colony, even if there was a problem, he might be able to protect himself. Now he had to see just what the Hidden Fog sect wanted. She put down Qin Yu's letter. Sure enough, the ash threadgrass was something that was produced by your hands. Then it was clear that the Hidden Fog sect's so-called criticism of the ash threadgrass was just an excuse. Her eyes flashed, and a trace of envy appeared on Feng Qing's face. It seemed that Zhou Li's status in your heart was even higher than she expected. In this situation, he didn't hesitate to risk being discovered and agree to contact the Hidden Fog sect. Or, even if you couldn't use your divine sense, you still had a way to protect yourself and wouldn't place yourself in a truly dangerous situation. Feng Qing didn't dare to underestimate the strength and mysteriousness of a divine realm existence. She shook her head and suppressed these thoughts. Since he had already made his decision, she would do as he said. She picked up a jade slip and wrote an official reply, ordering her subordinates to send it out. Mid-morning city. Old wasted up. Let's go now. That mysterious grandmaster had actually shown himself. Rong Wei's face was also filled with excitement. This was because the strange energy contained within the ash thread grass allowed him to see a brand new and vast world. Behind the two of them, the red-skinned big fellow who had his eyes closed suddenly lay down on the ground. With a deep roar, a monstrous light flashed, and a 70 to 80-foot long tiger appeared on the ground. A pair of wings spread out from its back, and it was hundreds of feet long. Old Wei and Rong Wei flew onto the tiger's back and sat down. The tiger flapped its wings and howled into the skies. In a short half a day, the two of them arrived outside Mid-Morning City. The tiger landed on the ground and turned back into a big fellow. The three of them quickly entered the city. And today just happened to be the day that Sky Declaring Pavilion would be hiring beast trainers. When Old Wei learned from Feng Qing that the mysterious Grandmaster was present at the final hearing, his complexion immediately darkened. This was completely different from his original plans. A Grandmaster that could cultivate such precious ash threadgrass should certainly be brought back to the Hidden Fog sect. Otherwise, how could they be willing? Miss Feng Qing, why didn't you tell us about this ahead of time? Feng Qing had an innocent expression. Old Mr. Wei, Grandmaster Ning Qin signed up a long time ago to participate in this hiring event. Today is only a coincidence. Her eyes flashed. I wonder, why are you so anxious to see Grandmaster Ning Qin? What is it for? Old Wei's face stiffened. Rong Wei smiled. The ash threadgrass that Grandmaster Ning Qin cultivated is extremely outstanding, so he must be a true Grandmaster level character. The Hidden Fog sect has always been thirsty for talent, so I naturally wanted to make contact with him after discovering him. But I never thought that Miss Feng Qing would be one step ahead of me. What a pity. I wonder if Miss Feng Qing can arrange for us to meet with Grandmaster Ning Qin as soon as possible after the final hearing ends. I hope that I can have an exchange with Grandmaster Ning Qin in the area of beast raising. Feng Qing smiled. Of course. Grandmaster Ning Qin has already agreed to come see you too after the final hearing ends. Hashtag. Chapter 693. Mid-Morning City, Sky Declaring Pavilion Branch. The final beast trainer recruitment examination had already begun. Looking at the silver-white door that was tightly shut, groups of youths spread out, their faces filled with envy. Those that could enter the final examination were all outstanding beast trainers. Although they all had talent in this aspect, it was unknown just how much time they had to spend in order to reach this step. Perhaps they might never be able to reach this step in their entire lives. Therefore, it was very important to find a good teacher. This was also the greatest hope that they had harbored in their hearts after racking their brains to come here. I heard that our Mid-Morning City branch division has received a high-level Silver Moon Grandmaster. If you can be chosen by this person, becoming an official beast trainer is just around the corner. In a small team, The young man who spoke had a head of rare long gray hair. It lay softly on his forehead and had a look of longing on his face. Advanced Silver Moon. This was a legendary creature that they had never seen before. The petite female cultivator next to him sneered. Stop daydreaming. The final trial has already begun, and I heard that the Grandmaster hasn't arrived yet. I'm afraid that he has already been identified in secret and won't go through the ordinary procedures. Although she was mocking him, a trace of disappointment flashed in her eyes. If she could really become an in-name disciple of a master, it would be a chance to change her fate, but it was a pity. A slightly hoarse voice came into everyone's ears, calm but firm. The status of an advanced master of the Silver Moon is very noble. It's normal for him to arrive late. Even if we really miss the opportunity, as long as we work hard enough, we can still achieve something. Under her light purple bangs, her long eyelashes fluttered, adding a touch of gentleness to her coquettish face. The young female cultivator's mocking expression changed. She respectfully bowed. Big Sister Yundai is right. Several young cultivators nodded in agreement. It was clear that she had a high status in this small group. At this moment, a creaking sound rang out. Everyone was trying their best to keep their voices down, but the sound was exceptionally clear. The other end of the passageway was opened, and apart from a pair of eyes, a young man with an ordinary appearance and clothes walked in. When he saw the scene before him, he frowned and seemed a little surprised. And at this moment, there were also many people who were looking at him with a frown. Everyone knew what day it was. Perhaps it could change their lives in the future. One more person meant one more variable, further diluting the already frighteningly low probability. More importantly, everyone had received the notice and had been waiting here for a long time. How could this person join in midway? They couldn't help but wonder if this kid had gone through the back door, or if he had some connections. Thus, the gazes that gathered on him were filled with coldness, envy, and disdain, jealousy. Qin Yu frowned. He thought that if Sky Declaring Pavilion's final trial were to be presided over by these youths, it would be far too childish. After thinking for a moment, he stepped forwards. "Excuse me, is this the final trial of the beast trainers?" There was a sneer. "Of course. Otherwise, why would we come here so early in the morning?" The one who spoke was a slightly fat cultivator. His small eyes stared at Qin Yu with ill intent. But at this moment, he could feel the gazes of many beautiful sisters landing on him. Little Fatty was even more spirited now. Damn it, had he reached the peak of his life? "I've never had the honor of being noticed by so many beautiful ladies." Qin Yu said, "You came to participate in the final trial." There was a hint of hesitation in his voice, but as it fell into the ears of everyone present, it was simply ridicule. "Bastard! Even if you have a background and connections, you still dare to be so arrogant? Of those that could come here today who didn't have some skill, be careful that you don't end up with a bloody face, let alone participating in the final trial of the beast trainers right now. Even if they could do this 30 years from now, they would still be grinning from ear to ear." Thinking of this, they found Qin Yu even more displeasing to the eye. "This little brat, it's like you are participating in the final trial. Why don't you stay here with us and pray that you'll be chosen by some beast trainer after the final trial?" After an awkward silence, the little fatty grinned. He really felt embarrassed. This isn't the final trial. It is behind this door. Yun Dai didn't know why she was explaining this. She met Qin Yu's puzzled gaze and continued to say, "This isn't the entrance. The Lord Beast Trainers will enter from the front door." So she had gone the wrong way. Qin Yu glanced at her and smiled. "Thank you for the reminder." He turned and walked back. He pulled open the door and vanished from everyone's sight. This was beyond everyone's expectations. Many people's eyes widened. The little fatty's lips twitched. "Is this fellow retarded?" There was a burst of light laughter before it was immediately tossed to the back of everyone's minds. In such a tense moment, no one wanted to be distracted by this strange brat. Yun Dai could sense the confusion in her companion's eyes. She lowered her head, covering her beautiful eyes. This was because there really wasn't anything she could explain about this matter. Just as Chin Yu pushed open the door, he saw two Sky Declaring Pavilion cultivators running towards him, sweating profusely. As they saw him, their eyes brightened and they repeatedly apologized. Grandmaster Ning Qin, we are truly sorry. We didn't make proper preparations and wasted your precious time. I ask for Grandmaster's forgiveness. The middle-aged man beside them fell to his knees, his face pale and sweat streaming down his face. The final trial had already begun. This person had arrived a bit late to begin with. If he was delayed and something happened, would he still be able to live? It's fine. I was the one who went the wrong way. Lead the way. Thank you, Grandmaster. Thank you, Grandmaster. After passing through an arched door, a spacious courtyard appeared in front of them. This was the final trial location. The three beast trainers revealed looks of impatience. If someone was responsible for presiding over the final trial, they definitely had some skill. After being left hanging here for such a long time, their mood could be imagined. If it weren't for the fact that they were high-level Silver Moon Masters, they would have already stormed off in a huff. Even now, they were only suppressing their anger. Hearing the sound of footsteps, the three beast trainers sucked in a deep breath and squeezed out a smile. Before determining the depths of this Grandmaster Ning Qin, it would be best if they didn't offend him. But as they saw Qin Yu standing behind the two Sky Declaring Pavilion cultivators, their faces stiffened. Although there were indeed geniuses in this world that could accomplish things that ordinary people couldn't, for them to believe that this boy in front of them was a high-level Silver Moon Grandmaster was simply a joke. Just how had the preliminary trial been conducted? They had actually allowed a young junior to take advantage of a loophole. It was fine if he was tired of living and wanted to seek death, but he actually wanted to waste their time. In particular, of the three beast trainers, the younger one had a pale complexion. When he learned that a high-level Silver Moon Grandmaster had come to apply, he had spent a great deal of effort to obtain the qualifications for today's final trial. He wanted to establish a good relationship with the Grandmaster ahead of time so that he could ask for guidance in the future. If looks could kill, Qin Yu would have been riddled with holes by now. Mr. Su, Mr. Zhou, Mr. Sun, Grandmaster Ning Qin has arrived. Sensing that the atmosphere wasn't right, the two of them quickly drew back to the side. Sun Xiangzhang took a deep breath. You are Ning Qin? Good, very good. As he thought about the price he had paid in order to obtain today's position, as well as the ridicule he would inevitably receive from everyone, his complexion paled even further. Today's final trial topic is to use the materials prepared by Sky Declaring Pavilion to restore a sick skylark to health in 4 hours. With a flick of his sleeves, the ground rumbled and cracked open, revealing stone steps leading underground. The skylark is here, but the final trial has already begun an hour ago. In other words, you only have 3 hours to complete it. Begin. Su and Zhou sat down. They shook their heads and closed their eyes to rest. Today's topic wasn't easy to begin with. Only someone with the strength of a high-level Silver Moon would be able to cure a skylark in 4 hours. Now, the time had been reduced by an hour, and it was also this unreliable boy. Today's matter had to be reported to the pavilion, and they would be given the compensation they deserved. It had to be known that a beast trainer's time was extremely precious. Qin, you didn't care about the attitudes of the 3 final trial examiners. Since he came here, he had already expected this. He nodded to indicate that he understood the topic. Then he walked up the stone steps. There was a loud rumbling above his head, but it wasn't dark in front of him. The beads embedded into the stone walls emitted a warm and bright light. Chapter 694. Mr. Zhou suddenly opened his eyes. The baby in the skylark's egg is no longer safe, and its bloodthirsty nature has erupted. Will there be an accident if this boy enters? Before figuring out his identity, if something were to happen to him, it was likely to attract unnecessary trouble. Mr. Su lightly said, Don't worry. Before the examination began, I inspected the skylark's condition. Its inner core has been damaged, and it won't wake up for some time. That's good. This junior will find it hard to escape punishment, as long as nothing happens to him in our hands. Mr. Zhou faintly smiled. Sun Xiangzhang suddenly said, "Two sirs, if there is an accident in the skylark's egg, is its inner core damaged and not sick?" His face paled. Mr. Su paused for a moment, a trace of annoyance in his eyes. He said, "Xiangzhang, I know that you were the one who took care of the skylark before it gave birth, but this has nothing to do with you. When the skylark laid the egg, its bloodline changed, causing the egg to be damaged. If it was just a simple illness, how could it become the topic of the examination for high-level Silver Moon Grandmaster?" Mr. Zhou glared at his old friend and continued to console him. "Indeed, we concealed it from you because we didn't want you to think too much about it." Sun Xiangzhang was absent-minded. After a long time, he squeezed out a bitter smile. "I understand. Thank you for your consolation." The reason he had passed the initial Silver Moon examination was because he had stimulated the thin bloodline of a low-level stone sparrow, allowing it to smoothly transform into a skylark. Thus, this skylark held an extraordinary significance to him, now that its fetus was in danger and its inner core was damaged. Did this really have nothing to do with him? If he had been more careful and cautious when he took care of it, he might have been able to discover ahead of time that the skylark's bloodline was about to mutate. Looking at Sun Xiangzhang's pale face, Mr. Zhou and Mr. Sun glanced at each other and sighed at the same time. The entire hall fell silent. The moment the skylark opened its eyes that were overflowing with magma, it cried out and spread out its wings. Every feather flowed with flames, and a terrifying aura erupted. The surrounding temperature rose at an astonishing speed. Runes of array formations lit up on the walls and floor of the basement, releasing a powerful sealing aura that isolated the inside from the outside. This was a condition that had to be met in order to place a high-level spirit beast. Otherwise, if an accident were to occur, for instance, this mutated skylark in front of them, the destructive strength it released was enough to turn the majority of Sky Declaring Pavilion into a pool of lava. The skylark's blood-red eyes locked onto Chinyu. Its wild and savage will didn't allow the skylark to hesitate at all. It flapped its wings and flames erupted. Its long beak, that seemed like fire crystals, shot straight towards Chinyu's head. Chinyu narrowed his eyes, thinking that pretending to be a high-level Silver Moon Grandmaster really wasn't easy. If his strength was a bit weaker, he feared that in the next moment he would have been roasted and swallowed by the skylark. Fortunately, his physical strength had recovered a bit, and he was able to deal with this skylark. Chinyu took a deep breath and stepped forwards. He shouted out loud and clenched his fists. His heart wildly beat and billowing blood energy erupted. Pitter-patter, with the crackling of his bones, Chinyu's eyes became increasingly deep. The aura of endless years filled his eyes, as if he were filled with endless vicissitudes of time. Strength erupted and the ground groaned in pain. Then cracks began to appear. Just as Chinyu was about to strike out with his full strength, he saw the cruel and bloodshot skylark suddenly cry out in pain. Its aura rapidly dissipated and it slumped to the ground, shivering. Chinyu furrowed his eyebrows. His first thought was that this skylark was so smart that it knew how to play tricks, but he soon overturned this thought. The skylark shivering on the ground was indeed expressing its fear and submission to him. Was it because of the ancient race bloodline? Besides that, there was no other explanation. Now wasn't the time to think about this. It was naturally best if this skylark admitted defeat. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to waste his efforts. The reason I came here is to save you. If you understand, then nod. The flames around the skylark restrained themselves, and its eyes became clear once more. It kowtowed again and again to show that it understood. Very good. Chinyu's thoughts stirred. He looked at the experimental platform not too far away. Luckily, he had protected it when the array formation lit up. Otherwise, the materials on it would have been destroyed by the high temperatures just now. He lifted a hand and pointed. You should be the clearest about your situation. Go take a look at the experimental platform and see if there is anything you need. Seeing the skylark try several times to stand up, Qin Yu hesitated for a moment before withdrawing his blood energy fluctuations. The skylark struggled to stand up, but its eyes were still filled with awe as it looked at Qin Yu. Arriving in front of the experimental platform, the skylark's eyes brightened. Its long beak was separated by the ray formation's barrier of light, and it pointed at several different materials. Qin Yu fumbled around for a moment before grasping the switch of the array formation. He took out the materials that the skylark had chosen. There was a white fruit, 7 or 8 purple petals, and a common-looking grass. Can they cure you with just these? The question shouldn't be so simple, and sure enough, the skylark shook its head. It flapped its wings as if it wanted to express something. Qin Yu looked at it for a long time and rubbed his chin. You want to say that these things are useful to you, but not enough to cure you. The skylark nodded. Qin Yu smiled. If this was the case, then it shouldn't be too much of a problem. He drew back his smile and expressionlessly looked at the skylark. His voice was deep and dignified. Now, turn around and face the stone wall. Close your eyes. If I don't tell you to come back, then maintain this posture. Do you understand? The skylark quickly nodded and walked over. It was so obedient that it was hard to believe. Qin Yu looked at it several times and determined that the skylark wouldn't disobey his orders. As he marveled in his heart, he raised his hand and spread open his fingers. The phantom of a small sun appeared between his fingers. It sprinkled down a deep blue light that covered the fruit, flower petals, and grass. The silence of the final trial was broken by the sound of hurried footsteps. Several cold and stern cultivators strode into the field. Mr. Su furrowed his eyebrows. What happened? The leader bowed. Mr. Su, the central control detected the opening of the underground array formation just now, and the energy fluctuations were extremely fierce. I fear that an accident has occurred. Mr. Su's complexion changed. Impossible. If there really was an accident, then even if there was an array formation isolating the aura, we would still be able to sense it. Mr. Zhou said that's right. Everything is normal. Sun Xiangzhang regained his composure. He took a deep breath and said to this person, Brother Zhai, there really isn't anything wrong. Zhai Shan and Sun Xiangzhang had a close relationship, so he naturally believed in his friend's words. His cold expression relaxed. If there isn't any movement, then it should be a false alarm from the central control. There have been similar situations during this period of time, but we haven't found the cause yet. Wait, Mr. Zhou's expression was dignified. Fellow Taoist Zhai, you should check to see whether or not the underground array formation has been opened. Mr. Su and Sun Xiangzhang's complexions changed. They understood Mr. Zhou's meaning. With that boy's age and cultivation, if there really was something wrong with the skylark, he could be killed in a single move. They were outside, so they naturally wouldn't be able to sense any movement. Damn it, if someone really died inside, then although they wouldn't have to bear any responsibility, it would still be troublesome. Zhai Shan frowned. He didn't have time to ask about the change in their attitudes. He took out a ring and placed it on the ground. The ring trembled and a pale white light spread out. Zhai Shan let out a breath of relief. Luckily, the array formation hasn't been activated. However, the light from the ring seemed to be brighter than usual. Could the underground array formation really have been opened just now? That shouldn't be the case. If that skylark had really woken up, it would have already caused a great uproar. How could it be as calm as it was now? Moreover, this was the final examination. If they wanted to test it, they had to consider the attitudes of the beast trainers participating in the examination. Well, since the ring indicated that nothing was wrong, then there was no need to cause trouble. Zhai Shan's thoughts raced through. He cupped his hands together and said, "Since there are no problems, then I won't disturb the final examination any further. Farewell." He turned and led his people away. Mr. Zhou smiled. Zhai Shan's talent is outstanding, and his cultivation has been progressing at a rapid pace these past years. Not long ago, he broke through his bottleneck and smoothly reached the Calamity Immortal Realm. In the future, his great Tao is within reach. He looked at Sun Xiangzhang. Xiangzhang and Zhai Shan's friendship started at a young age. If they can advance together in the future, it will surely become a legend. Mr. Su nodded in agreement. The two of them were both middle Silver Moon beasts and feared that they would never be able to take another step forwards in their lives. Thus, they held Sun Xiangzhang in high regard. If it weren't for the two of them jointly guaranteeing him, how could a beast trainer who had just entered the Silver Moon realm obtain such a precious position in such an important occasion? Zhai Shan is indeed outstanding. Sun Xiangzhang had no intention of speaking further. His eyes were filled with worry as he looked at the sealed entrance to the basement. After learning of the Skylark's true condition, he began to worry even more. That Junior Ningqin shouldn't recklessly try anything and cause its condition to worsen even further. Mr. Su said in a low voice, "Xiangzhang, no matter what the result is today, I do not wish for you to interfere with the Skylark's treatment." "That's right," Mr. Zhou continued. "We know your feelings towards the Skylark, but a damaged inner core is no minor matter. Only a Grandmaster-level character can possibly save it. If you recklessly act and aren't careful, your reputation will be damaged, and that will be detrimental to your future development." Sun Xiangzhang's lips moved. Finally, he nodded with difficulty. "I will listen to you two misters. I will not interfere with the treatment." Within his sleeves, he tightly clenched his fists together. For the first time, he felt disappointment in himself. His entire body was filled with powerlessness. The bitterness of wanting to save the Skylark, but being unable to do so, constantly gnawed at Sun Xiangzhang's proud heart. An hour and a half passed. Qin Yu silently calculated the world. With a thought, the great sun phantom vanished, and the deep blue light converged to reveal the white fruit, flower petals, and green grass below. Compared to before, they didn't seem to have changed much. But there seemed to be a faint flow of light on their surface. He hoped it was useful. Qin Yu said in a low voice, "All right, come over." The Skylark obediently turned around. When Qin Yu saw it, it cautiously opened its eyes. It silently walked over. Although its body was massive in front of Qin Yu, it seemed particularly small and insignificant. "Eat what you chose. Let's see if it can cure you." The Skylark's eyes brightened. Its long beak tapped the ground, directly swallowing the fruit, flower petals, and grass. In the next moment, it let out a cry that seemed both pained and happy. The surface of its feathers uncontrollably ignited with raging flames. The underground array formation lit up once more. But this time, the temperature in the air soon surpassed its limit. Even with the support of the array formation, the ground and walls began to melt. After Zhai Shanyu returned to the control center and confirmed that the alarm had disappeared, he gloomily ordered his subordinates to find the source of the false alarm as soon as possible. Then he flicked his sleeves and returned to the restroom. Today was his turn to be on duty. An accident could occur at any time and he wouldn't be able to cultivate. But to someone like Zhai Shanyu, who cherished every moment, he certainly couldn't waste a single day. He took out the body transformation art he was practicing and began to perceive the obscure parts within. This body transformation art was a reward he had obtained from the Tower Master for his outstanding performance. After Zhai Shanyu touched it, it was like he had obtained a supreme treasure. But this body transformation art was extremely difficult to perceive. Besides perseverance and willpower, one also needed sufficient talent to cultivate it. Soon, he immersed himself in it. But just as Zhai Shanyue's mind began to light up and he began to understand some obscure parts, there was a loud ringing in the rest room. Shua! Zhai Shanyue's eyes flashed open, blazing with anger. The inspiration he had grasped with great difficulty had been interrupted like this. Bang! He fiercely pushed open the door and roared out, "You had best give me a satisfactory explanation." The cultivator outside shivered as he endured the roar. He said with a panicked expression, "My lord, the control center has issued a level 1 alert, level 1 alert, level 1 alert." Important things had to be repeated 3 times. But Zhai Shanyue didn't have the time to listen to everything. The first time he heard it, his complexion changed and he rushed out. To hell with his comprehension being interrupted. The control center had issued a level 1 alert, indicating that an array formation had been struck by a strength that surpassed its limits and was on the verge of collapse. Something similar had happened before. At the time, a small portion of Sky Declaring Pavilion had been torn to shreds by a berserk energy. Even though the aftermath had been quickly dealt with and it hadn't caused too much of a commotion, Zhai Shanyu's predecessor, who had once been in the limelight, had been banished to the cold palace ever since. Zhai Shanyue didn't want to follow in the footsteps of his predecessor. His eyes locked onto the area where the warning had been issued, and he rushed out. "Don't let anything happen. Please don't let anything happen. Time's up." Sun Xiangzhang didn't waste even a moment. But before he could open the array, a sudden roar came from the ground. Then the ground shook incessantly, causing the doors and windows to make kacha sounds and dust to soar into the sky. Mr. Zhou cried out, "This is bad. It's that skylark underground." His complexion paled. The skylark's inner core had been damaged, so it was impossible for it to erupt with such a formidable strength. The only exception was if it had completely gone berserk, disregarding everything else. Just what had that bastard brat done? Sun Xiangzhang clenched his teeth. "If anything happens to the skylark, I won't forgive you." He was about to open the array formation when he was interrupted by Mr. Su. "You cannot open the array formation. Otherwise, neither you nor I will be able to escape. Everyone here will die." Whoosh! With the sound of breaking air, Zhai Shanyue appeared in midair. He lifted his hand and 4 rings shot out, occupying the 4 corners of the ground. He shouted, "Suppress!" Each ring erupted with radiant light. Then they condensed into pillars of light that smashed into the earth. They were like 4 pillars that supported the heavens, carrying with them an irresistible strength that imprisoned all. After completing this, Zhai Shanyue relaxed a little. It was only then that he discovered that his back was drenched in a cold sweat. Luckily, he had arrived a step earlier. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. His eyes flashed like lightning as he looked at Sun Xiangzhang and the others. Zhai Shanyue asked, "What happened?" "We can't answer this question." After a second of silence, Sun Xiangzhang roared out, "It was Ning Qin. He must have done something that caused the skylark's strength to go out of control. Damn it, if he had known earlier that the skylark's inner core was damaged, he would never have allowed that bastard to go in." Strength went out of control. Zhai Shanyue shook. He looked at Mr. Su and Mr. Zhou in horror. The 2 misters had bitter expressions. "It should be like this. Hurry and evacuate everyone nearby. Once the skylark's inner core explodes, the destructive power isn't something that the array formation can resist. It's over. Even if I came a step faster, I still wouldn't have been able to prevent this tragic end." Zhai Shanyue paled, but at this time, the shaking earth rapidly weakened. In just several breaths of time, everything calmed down, as if everything that had just occurred had been nothing but an illusion. This was the skylark supposed to lose control of its strength and explode its inner core. Was it going to end like this? Just as Zhai Shanyue thought of this, he lifted his hand, wanting to slap himself in the face. What the hell was he thinking? If he didn't court death, he would suffer. His complexion darkened. He clenched his teeth and flicked his sleeves. The 4 pillars of light suppressing the ground scattered, and the entrance opened. With a clear cry, Sun Xiangzhang's eyes widened. In the next moment, blazing flames flashed in front of him. The skylark spread its wings and flew out, its massive body covering the courtyard. Even though it had restrained its strength, the air still became hot and dry. The leaves of the bamboo in the corner of the courtyard rapidly withered and fell off. "Fire Phoenix!" Mr. Zhou cried out in alarm, his face filled with disbelief. Beside him, Mr. Su and Sun Xiangzhang were also dumbfounded. The rock sparrow was an ordinary low-level monster beast, but it had an extremely thin skylark bloodline within it. In theory, there was a chance that it could transform into a skylark, and it was loved by many beast trainers. As for the skylark, the legend said that it was a descendant of the ancient god beast True Phoenix. It was an incomparably powerful vicious beast that could compare with divine Tao existences. The ancient texts recorded that tens of thousands of years ago, there was indeed a skylark that activated the True Phoenix bloodline within its body. It was able to control the thunder of the heavens and become one of the most powerful spirit beasts in the world at that time. As for this skylark in front of him, it had a majestic aura and luxurious feathers. Its entire body was bathed in crimson flames. It was clearly the manifestation of an evolution. Although its aura hadn't risen too much, the transformation of its bloodline meant infinite possibilities. Perhaps in the future, this skylark, no, it should be said that this fire phoenix could become a peerless spirit beast that could control all flames in the world, possessing a portion of the might of a true phoenix. Why would this skylark suddenly advance? Had it already broken free from the spells laid down by Sky declaring Pavilion? What if it wanted to escape? No, it absolutely could not be allowed to leave. This fire phoenix was the most valuable experimental subject. Perhaps they could find the key to awakening a monster beast's bloodline from it. Mr. Zhou took a deep breath. Just as he was about to order Zhai Shanhua to keep it here no matter the cost, he saw the fire phoenix obediently lie down on the ground. Then he saw the black-robed youth covered in burning wings. His eyes widened and his mind went blank. "Everyone, I should have passed the final trial, right?" This voice seemed to ring out from the distant horizon, spreading into everyone's ears and awakening them from their shocked silence. He was the one who had cured the skylark and helped it smoothly advance? How was this possible? Suddenly, the skylark cried out and a flame phantom flew out, falling onto the back of Qin Yu's hand where it turned into the phantom of a lifelike fire phoenix. "A spirit beast has recognized a master," Zhai Shanhua cried out in alarm. Her eyes were filled with shock as if she had seen something unbelievable. In the next moment, a woman's voice sounded out in his mind. "Master, I beg you to save my child. It hasn't been born yet. It shouldn't die like this." When a spirit beast recognized a master, that meant that it would pass all risks to its master. With just a thought, its life or death could be decided. Qin Yu understood that the fire phoenix hadn't recognized him as its master because he had saved it, but because it hoped to use this as a price to beg him to save its child. He hesitated for a moment and then said, "Where is the fire phoenix egg? Perhaps I can give it a try." The fire phoenix reared its head back and cried out. It flapped its wings and soared into the skies. It arrived outside a grand hall and flew straight towards the entrance. A collision didn't appear. Rather, space twisted in front of him and a vast space appeared. There were mountain ranges and long rivers, and there was even a great sun shining overhead. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes. The feeling this sun gave him was actually the same as a true great sun. Was this some sort of supernatural ability? The fire phoenix landed atop a steep mountain peak. Several ancient trees wove together, forming a massive natural bird's nest. The egg was over a meter in diameter and was covered with cloud patterns. It lay peacefully within. But at this time, over half of the cloud patterns on the egg were burning red, like burning clouds. The life force fluctuations within were extremely weak, as if they could dissipate at any moment. The fire phoenix cried out in sorrow. As it looked at its child, tears flowed out from its eyes. But before they could flow down, They were evaporated by the high temperature. As if sensing its mother's aura, the egg suddenly trembled. The little fellow inside wanted to come out, but no matter how hard it tried, it couldn't open the egg. Ji, a small sound sounded like it was crying. Master, please save it. As long as it can live, I am willing to do anything. The fire phoenix's voice sounded out in his mind. Whoosh, whoosh, there was the sound of breaking air. Besides Zhai Shan Sun Xiangzhang, and the others, there are also several other cultivators with extraordinary bearings. The one leading them cupped his hands together and said, Grandmaster Ningqin, I am Jiang Yun, the current steward of the Mid-Morning City Branch Division. If Grandmaster can save the Fire Phoenix egg, Sky Declaring Pavilion will surely repay you. Qin Yu said in a low voice, There isn't enough time. Tell me the specifics. In truth, he really didn't know where to start investigating. Jiang Yun turned around. Mr. Zhou, I'll have to trouble you to relay my words to the Grandmaster. Zhou Xinhong deeply looked at the young man in front of him. He blushed at his previous actions, and his tone became increasingly respectful. Grandmaster Ningqin, during the process of the Fire Phoenix laying the egg, a mutation occurred in its bloodline. Its strength eroded into the embryo egg, causing the unborn little skylark to suffer a calamity. If we want to save it, we must resolve the conflict between the two different bloodlines and have them fuse together. He bitterly smiled. This sort of matter is far too rare. Although Sky Declaring Pavilion urgently transferred over a blood-fusing pill, the rank of the pill is too low. It isn't enough to neutralize the two powerful bloodlines. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. If the medicinal efficacy is enough, then the blood-fusing pill can save it? Zhou Xinhong nodded. That is indeed the case, but the blood-fusing pill is incomparably difficult to refine, and only one will be born by chance. Even with the strength of Sky Declaring Pavilion, we were only able to find a single one. If it weren't for this, how could they have given up on this embryo egg? It had to be known that although it had been corroded, it still possessed two different bloodlines. Once it hatched and fused together, its potential would inevitably be astonishing. In particular, now that the skylark had transformed into the Fire Phoenix, this embryo egg was even more valuable. But saving it wasn't a simple matter. Even though Qin Yu had cured the Fire Phoenix, and even helped it activate its bloodline to complete its advancement, and even though there was no doubt that he was a grandmaster, no one held much hope in his heart. Master, I beg you, you must save it. The Fire Phoenix's tears began to evaporate. Qin Yu, are you sure it's that simple? This was an unsolvable problem that had stumped the entire Sky Declaring Pavilion. In his opinion, it was far too simple. If the blood-fusing pill wasn't effective enough, then purifying and strengthening it would be enough. Of course, he absolutely wouldn't speak of this matter. He had a dignified expression. As the Fire Phoenix's eyes filled with despair, he slowly nodded and said, Bring the blood-fusing pill over. I might have a way to strengthen its effects. Everyone fell silent. Jiang Yun's complexion was cloudy and uncertain. The blood-fusing pill was extremely precious. Even with his status, he didn't dare to casually deal with it. He looked at Qin Yu, wanting to see how deep he was from his expression. But all he saw was indifference. Sun Xiangzhang had an anxious expression. Steward Jiang, we absolutely cannot give up on this Fire Phoenix embryo. Even if the chances are slim, we still have to try. He took a step forwards. If someone investigates this matter afterwards, Steward can push the blame onto me. I am willing to bear the consequences. Jiang Yun's eyes relaxed. Mr. Sun is too serious. I am duty-bound to save this Fire Phoenix embryo. Men, hurry and bring the blood-fusing pill. With Sun Xiangzhang's words, if there really was an accident, he could at least say a few words to evade responsibility. Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai looked at Sun Xiangzhang with worry in their eyes. Once these words left his mouth, he wouldn't be able to escape this matter cleanly. Qin, you didn't have the time to care about their thoughts. Strengthening the blood-fusing pill requires time. How long can you keep the embryo egg alive? Sun Xiangzhang respectfully said, Grandmaster Ningqin, I guarantee you that it will be fine for 2 hours. Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai sighed inwardly. They stepped forwards at the same time. With us 2 old fellows helping out, we should be able to keep it alive for another hour. An hour was the same amount of time as before. Qin Yu wasn't sure if that was enough. He directly said, Then don't delay any further. Give me a quiet place. Jiang Yiyun said, Grandmaster Ningqin, please follow me. Sun Xiangzhang quickly walked in front of the embryo egg. He said to the fire phoenix, It was my negligence that led to today's situation. Don't worry, I will do my best. Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai revealed helpless expressions. In the current situation, no matter how hard the 3 of them tried, it was useless. They could only look at Grandmaster Ningqin. Although it was possible to strengthen a finished pill a second time, it was far more difficult than refining a new one. The chances of success were minuscule. Teacher, once the blood-fusing pill is damaged, you will surely be held accountable. Why take such a risk? A sky-declaring pavilion cultivator bitterly smiled. Since this fire phoenix embryo egg had already been sentenced to death, there was no need to complicate matters in order to protect himself. Jiang Yiyun shook his head. Although I like to play some tricks and embezzle money from public funds, you must firmly remember the principles of your position. I am the person with the highest authority in Mid-Morning City's branch division. I have the duty and obligation to help the pavilion master recover his losses. If I couldn't even do this, I would have been kicked out of my position long ago. He looked towards the chamber. Another reason was that Jiang Yiyun wanted to give it a try. If he succeeded, that would be a great merit to him. Even if he failed, he would still be able to form a closer relationship with a beast trainer grandmaster. Chapter 695. An hour and a half later, beneath the golden light, the blood-red color rapidly spread across the surface of the fire phoenix egg, dyeing all of the cloud patterns. The bloodline has fused. Sun Xiangzhang whispered. Although he was happy to see this, he still had a blank look on his face. The second strengthening of the blood-fusing pill had been completed. If he hadn't witnessed it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed it. Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai's eyes widened. They stared at Qin Yu. If it weren't for the fact that they still had a trace of reason left in them, they really would have thrown themselves at him and hugged his thigh. High Silver Moon Realm, this was absolutely impossible. Grandmaster Ningqin was likely a peak, Great Sun, Realm Beast Trainer existence. Only such a legendary grand character would be able to accomplish such an inconceivable feat. Kacha. A crack appeared on the surface of the fire phoenix egg. A small, wet head poked out, looking at Qin Yu and emitting a tender cry. It seemed to know who had saved it. Jiang Yiyun's face was flushed red, and he walked with the wind. In front of his trusted disciple, he didn't need to hide his inner emotions. Congratulations, teacher. Congratulations, teacher. Feng Jun smiled. He knew that his teacher's days hadn't been too good recently. But with today's merit, all accusations would vanish like smoke in the wind. Jiang Yiyun laughed. I never thought that I would have such an unexpected harvest today. Grandmaster Ningqin is the person of my life. A beast trainer that was highly suspected to be at the Great Sun Realm had a revered status. If he could obtain his approval, he would be able to sleep in peace in the future. Feng Jun was one with his teacher, so he was naturally excited. The only thing he didn't understand was that Grandmaster Ningqin was far too low-key. Teacher, why did Grandmaster Ningqin ask us to keep his matters a secret? Could there be some other reason? Jiang Yiyun waved his hand. With Grandmaster Ningqin's status, it is enough for Sky Declaring Pavilion to go all out against him. Even if he causes trouble in the future, we won't be blamed. Since it is the Grandmaster's request, we will naturally comply. But You must understand that you must give Grandmaster Ning Qin sufficient respect. There cannot be any accidents. Feng Jun bowed. Teacher, rest assured that I will do my best and not arouse any suspicions. Waving his hand for him to leave, Jiang Yun respectfully began to record everything related to Ning Qin. He crushed the jade slip in his hands. Even though he had promised the Grandmaster that he would keep his existence a secret, this didn't include the Master of Sky declaring Pavilion. As for the others, humph, it wouldn't be long before the Beast Trainer Grand Competition of the Eastern Territory was held. The Mid-Morning City Branch Division would surely shock everyone. They obeyed Grandmaster Ning Qin's will and chose to conceal his existence. Zhou Xinhong and Su Yuanbai could only watch with envy as Sun Xiangzhang and Zhai Shan led Qin Yu away. Grandmaster, Sun Xiangzhang, did not know your identity before and was arrogant enough to offend you. I hope that Grandmaster can be magnanimous and forgive me. Sun Xiangzhang bowed respectfully. Zhai Shan had a worried look on his face. When Grandmaster Ning Qin had chosen Sun Xiangzhang to lead the way for him, he had felt apprehensive. A true Grandmaster-level character was a pivotal figure in Sky declaring Pavilion. If they wanted to make things difficult for Sun Xiangzhang, then even if he were a Silver Moon-level beast trainer, it would still be difficult for him to proceed. Qin Yu had a calm expression. There is no need to mention the past. Right now, he only wanted to borrow the Grandmaster's identity to recover from his injuries as soon as possible. Naturally, he wouldn't waste time on such a trivial matter. But in the eyes of Sun Xiangzhang and Zhai Shan, this was the demeanor of a Grandmaster. As expected, his heart was as broad as the sea, and not something ordinary people could compare to. The two of them became even more respectful. Grandmaster Ning Qin, after you pass the final trial, you may establish your own laboratory. This will require a certain number of assistants to help you with some miscellaneous matters. According to convention, we have prepared some outstanding youths ahead of time. You may freely choose from them. Sun Xiangzhang paused, an apologetic expression on his face. Because of the matter with the Fire Phoenix egg, I have delayed Grandmaster's precious time. Thus, the other beast trainers that have passed the final trial have likely already completed their selection. If you are not satisfied with the remaining people, Sky Declaring Pavilion will prepare some new ones for you. Qin Yu waved his hand. There is no need to trouble yourself. Let's deal with some trivial matters today. Outside the silver-white doors, there were fewer young cultivators standing apart. Those that remained were a bit crestfallen. There were many apprentices that thought highly of themselves but weren't chosen. They clenched their fists in their sleeves and gnashed their teeth. They clearly weren't any worse than them, so why weren't they chosen? Bang! The silver-white doors were pushed open and a Sky Declaring Pavilion cultivator appeared. Looking at the badge on his chest, he was an apprentice of an official beast trainer. He swept his eyes over the crowd and said, "The beast trainers have finished their selection. You may all leave." There was a sudden silence. Then there was the sound of stifled sobs. Several female cultivators with poor mental states had tears streaming down their faces. If they missed out on today's chance, they would be doomed to a life of mediocrity. Big Sister Yin Dai. The petite female cultivator paled. Although she told herself not to hold out too much hope, when the end arrived, she still felt a heavy feeling in her chest that made it hard for her to breathe. Yen Jiao thought of her mother's eager eyes when she left. She could read the anticipation in them. She didn't know how to face her mother's sad expression. Don't be sad, even if you miss out on today's chance. That doesn't mean you can't become a true beast trainer in the future. Although a good teacher can help us avoid detours, we still have to rely on ourselves. Beneath her light purple hair, she had a light expression. She chose to ignore the puzzled and mocking gazes around her. Indeed, she had refused that beast trainer selection. In their eyes, this was a very stupid thing to do. But from that person's eyes, Yun Dai was well aware just what sort of fate awaited her if she agreed to become a secret disciple. Yun Dai didn't want to sell herself, so she refused. Just like all these years, she had given up one opportunity after another. But in the end, there was always a trace of disappointment in her heart. Yun Dai pursed her lips. "Let's go." She bowed to the sky, declaring Pavilion Cultivator, and left. Just as the several people were about to push open the door, there was the sound of hurried footsteps behind them. There were several whispers, and then the sky declaring Pavilion Cultivator who announced the end shouted out, "Everyone come back. There is still a beast trainer who hasn't chosen yet." Yun Dai fiercely turned around. She didn't know if it was an illusion or not, but she seemed to see a trace of envy in this person's eyes. Envy? How was that possible? An official apprentice that had a teacher guiding them was far, far stronger than them. It should be an illusion. Yun Dai took a deep breath and suppressed her thoughts. She turned and said, "There is still one last chance. Perhaps good luck will arrive. Even if there is good luck, there are so many people here. It might not fall on our heads." The gray-haired youth muttered. Yan Jiao ruthlessly glared at him. "Shut up. No one will think you are a mute if you don't speak." She looked at the open silver door. Her bright eyes filled with stubbornness. She was like a drowning person who had grasped onto the last straw of hope. Everyone lined up according to their number plates. They lowered their heads, excitement and awe filling their hearts as they walked through the silver door. This was a spacious corridor. At the end of it was a grand hall. At the entrance of the grand hall stood two calm figures. "Zhai Shangyue!" A shout suddenly sounded out, but even more eyes were focused on another figure. No, the young girl's eyes were filled with infatuated little stars. Is that Mr. Sun Xiangzhang?" Yan Jiao's voice trembled. No one answered her question. Even the usually calm Yun Dai blushed at this time. Sun Xiangzhang was an extremely famous figure in Mid-Morning City. He was a rising star of the beast trainers and had hopes of reaching the Grandmaster realm in the future. Moreover, he wasn't even 100 years old. His talent was so outstanding that it left one amazed. In particular, the key point was that Sun Xiangzhang came from an ordinary background. For him to have his current achievements, he had relied on himself to reach them step by step without any tricks at all. Because of this, he became the idol of countless low-level beast trainers and was regarded as a beacon of hope on the road of life. Could it be that Mr. Sun Xiangzhang was choosing apprentices today? "Greetings, Mr. Sun." All the apprentices respectfully bowed. Sun Xiangzhang was silent for a moment. Then he slowly said, "I am truly envious of everyone here today. You were actually able to obtain such a lucky chance. I hope that you can grasp it well and not waste this chance to change your destiny." He didn't say anything else and drew back to the side. Yun Dai was stunned. This time, she was sure that she wasn't mistaken. Mr. Sun really was expressing his envy towards them. Could it be that with Mr. Sun's status, he also believed that entering this grand hall and being chosen was a lucky chance that left others envious? Then, just who was in this grand hall? Yun Dai's heartbeat quickened. She subconsciously clenched her fists. She swept her eyes around and discovered that everyone had excited expressions. Since they were able to come here, no one needed to top up their intelligence. They naturally grasped the crux of the matter. The group became increasingly quiet. Even the sound of breathing was restrained. Everyone lowered their heads even more, putting forth all of their awe and respect in the hopes that they would be chosen by the person in the hall. Zhai Shan lowered his voice. "Xiangzhang, who do you think the Grandmaster will choose?" He knew most of the youths here. They all had decent backgrounds and decent talent. Sun Xiangzhang shook his head. "How can I know what the Grandmaster is thinking? But if he really chooses, he might be able to do as he pleases. With the Grandmaster's strength, he could even carve a piece of rotten wood into something brilliant." He really envied these juniors. He wondered if he would have a chance to enter the Grandmaster's tutelage in the future, and the status of a Silver Moon level beast trainer? In his opinion, that was worthless. Jaishan looked at his good friend's disappointed expression and easily guessed what he was thinking. His lips twitched. He thought that he really needed to work harder. Otherwise, sooner or later, he would be left behind by this fellow. However, the body transformation method that the pavilion master had bestowed upon him was truly difficult. It had already been several years, and he still hadn't been able to peek through it. Just thinking about it left him sad. The grand hall was quiet, but everyone could clearly feel the corporeal gaze coming from above. It was calm and full of oppression. "Choose me! Choose me! Hurry up and choose me!" Several short breaths of time passed by, but to everyone it felt like an eternity. Their bodies grew increasingly tense, and beads of sweat dripped down their foreheads. Yundai's breath caught in her throat. This was because her intuition told her that that gaze had fallen on her. Was it because of that? Chapter 696. Ever since he was a child, Siyuan's appetite had always been delicious. His body was so round that it didn't conform to the aesthetic standards of most female cultivators. Thus, even now he was still a single man. This time his family had spent a great deal of effort in exchange for a chance for him to turn things around. As long as he could become an official beast trainer, what did it matter if he was a little fat? There were countless beautiful women willing to throw themselves at him. For this great dream, Siyuan came to Sky Declaring Pavilion, filled with anticipation. But reality was always cruel. Of the 6 beast trainers that chose him, he wasn't even on the list. What left Siyuan especially sad was that a woman he had loved for many years had already been chosen. Although she was lucky and had only entered the list as a substitute because a girl called Yundai had given up her qualifications. But this wasn't important. What was important was that, without accident, she would likely become a true beast trainer in several years, and the distance between them would only grow wider and wider. This was his last chance. Reason told Siyuan that he had to show enough respect in order to be chosen. But every time he showed less respect, he had already failed 6 times. He couldn't just sit here and wait for death. He had to find a way to obtain attention. Only like this would he have a chance. Little by little, Siyuan struggled to look up. A figure appeared in his peripheral vision, but he was just a bit away from seeing it clearly. Beads of sweat dripped down his forehead and into his eyes. A sour feeling blurred his vision. He blinked, and that figure finally became clear. In the next moment, Siyuan's eyes widened. He staggered, and his fat body crashed to the ground, emitting a deep rumbling sound that was particularly clear in the quiet hall. The nervous crowd was startled. They subconsciously looked up and gasped. With so many people speaking together, there was a momentum that seemed as if it could topple mountains and overturn seas. It was him. It was him. How could it be him? Everyone was dumbfounded. The one sitting high in the hall was the black-robed youth that they thought had cut in line not too long ago. It was still that ordinary face, without the least bit of brilliance. But now, in their eyes, there was a dignified air. After a moment of absent-mindedness, they finally regained their composure. As they looked at the twitching little fatty on the ground, their faces filled with pity. If it were them, they would have been so frightened that they couldn't even stand. It didn't matter if your mouth was cheap, but your luck was just too bad. Qin, you lifted a finger. Are you willing to follow me and learn? Schwa. All eyes gathered on Yundai, filled with envy. Just now, it seemed that she was the one who answered this gentleman's question. Sure enough, kind-hearted people were more likely to be rewarded. Yundai met Qin Yu's gaze. She didn't feel anything else from his eyes. But after all her experiences these past years, she didn't dare to easily believe this. Why me? Is it just because I answered his question? This didn't make sense at all. For some strange reason, Yundai said, My lord, I hope that you can accept my companions as your secret disciples. The envious crowd stared with their eyes wide open. They thought to themselves, Are you crazy? This kind of heavenly good thing. Others can't even beg for it, and you actually dare to raise conditions. My lord, Look, she's not qualified at all. Please choose me. I'm a very obedient person. Qin Yu was silent for a moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, he nodded. Sure. Then he raised his hand and pointed at a few more people. You, and the three of you, report to Sun Xiangzhang later. Ah, thank you, my lord, thank you, my lord. The selected people were overjoyed. Qin Yu didn't delay any longer. He nodded and left. Sun Xiangzhang, who was waiting outside, had a strange expression. Most beast trainers would only choose 1 or 2 secret disciples, but this person had chosen 10 in a single breath. Could he even guide them all? Grandmaster, he whispered in his heart, not daring to reveal any of this. Qin Yu nodded. In the next 2 days, I will have a secret disciple coming. Prepare ahead of time. Sun Xiangzhang respectfully nodded, healing the skylark, helping it evolve into a fire phoenix, and even saving a dying fetus. Feng Qing looked at the strange face in front of her and sighed from the bottom of her heart. Indeed, a great figure that could reach the divine realm couldn't be speculated with common sense. Grandmaster, Hidden Fog Sect's old Mr. Wei and Grandmaster Rong have been waiting for a long time. The door to the box opened from the inside. Old Wei and Rong Wei walked out and cupped their hands across their chests. We took the liberty to visit. I ask for Grandmaster's forgiveness. They didn't know the final results, but just the gray thread grass alone was enough to prove Grandmaster Ning Qin's strength. And powerhouses, no matter where or when, would always obtain enough respect. Qin Yu nodded. I already know why you two have come. Let's talk inside. Grandmaster, please. Food and wine were prepared in the box. With the door closed, it was isolated from the outside world and quiet. Old Wei smiled. Grandmaster, this wine is part of my Hidden Fog Sect's precious collection. Drinking it can cleanse one's spirit and mind and make one's mind clear. There's no harm in tasting it first. Qin Yu lightly said, I have already joined Sky Declaring Pavilion, and there are still many trivial matters to attend to. Let's not beat around the bush and get straight to the point. Rong Wei said, Grandmaster is a straightforward person. I will listen to your instructions. He took a deep breath, his eyes solemn. Grandmaster Ning Qin, may I ask if the gray thread grass in Miss Zhou Li's hand was one of your masterpieces? Qin Yu said that's right. Although he already knew this, hearing Qin Yu admit it still caused Rong Wei's eyes to brighten. There was a bit more respect in his eyes. Grandmaster's method of cultivating the gray thread grass is something I have never seen before. It is truly breathtaking. Old Wei and I originally hoped that Grandmaster would join my Hidden Fog Sect. For this, my sect is willing to show sufficient sincerity. Feng Qing suddenly pouted. Grandmaster Rong, are you trying to steal someone from Sky Declaring Pavilion right in front of me? Grandmaster Ning Qin is already a member of my Sky Declaring Pavilion. I ask Grandmaster Rong to rest assured that even in the future I will not give you a chance. Rong Wei forced a smile. Miss Feng Qing is right. If my Hidden Fog Sect can recruit Grandmaster Ning Qin, we will also treat him as an honored guest and not give others the slightest chance. He took a deep breath and continued to say, So, my sect can only take a step back and hope that we can invite Grandmaster Ning Qin to cultivate 10 gray thread grass of the same quality for us. Feng Qing relaxed a little. She smiled. This sort of matter will depend on Grandmaster Ning Qin's own opinion. Old Wei cupped his hands together. Grandmaster Ning Qin, I ask that you help us. The Hidden Fog Sect will surely give you sufficient compensation. Qin Yu tapped his fingers on the table. So, in order to obtain the gray thread grass, you want Sky Declaring Pavilion to hand over Jolie. Are you planning on using her as a bargaining chip to threaten me into lowering my head? The room fell silent. Feng Qing's expression didn't change. She had already expected this. How could the dignity of a divine realm powerhouse tolerate such provocation. Although the Hidden Fog sect was strong, in the eyes of this person, they weren't strong enough to make him swallow his anger. Old Wei's face stiffened. Rong Wei hurriedly said, "I won't hide it from Grandmaster Ningqin. The gray thread grass you cultivate is extremely important to my sect. It is because of this that I was anxious and made this decision. But I ask Grandmaster Ningqin to rest assured that my sect has absolutely no ill intentions towards Miss Jolie, nor have we ever thought of using her to threaten you. I can swear on this." "Qin," you coldly sneered. "Remember, this is the last time. Otherwise, the Hidden Fog sect can forget about obtaining anything from my hands." Although his attitude wasn't good, Old Wei's complexion eased a great deal. This meant that the previous conflict had temporarily passed. Of course, they had also received Qin Yu's warning. They absolutely couldn't use Zhou Li in the future. The cultivation of gray threadgrass is extremely complex, especially since you want 10 stalks. I will need some time, and the cost will be great. Forgive me for my solemnity when I lie with my eyes wide open, but the entire Hidden Fog sect was willing to believe him. What nonsense! That sort of astonishing transformation wasn't something that could be easily accomplished. Old Wei said in a low voice, "Grandmaster, please state your price." From his appearance, it was clear he was prepared to suffer a saber strike. If he opened his mouth too small, he would be letting down the Hidden Fog sect's resolve. Qin Yu's thoughts stirred. "Miss Feng Qing, what do you think I should ask for?" Feng Qing covered her mouth and smiled. "Grandmaster, do you really want me to say it?" Her thoughts raced. Qin Yu nodded. Feng Qing had already made her decision. "Then I won't decline. If there is anything I'm not satisfied with, Grandmaster can point it out." She looked at Old Wei and Rong Wei. "You two should know that whether it is raising beasts or cultivating spiritual objects, both are extremely taxing on the soul. I heard that the Hidden Fog sect has a mystic realm where a strange flower called the blue orchid grows. It is greatly beneficial to the soul. I will exchange 1 gray threadgrass for 1 blue orchid. What do you two think?" "Impossible." Old Wei stood up. "Miss Feng Qing, you are far too insincere. This wasn't just a lion opening its mouth. It was even bigger than a dragon's head." Feng Qing smiled. "I am only bidding for Grandmaster as a reference. If you don't agree, then Grandmaster can decide for himself." Qin Yu lightly said, 1 stalk for 1 stalk. Bartering is very fair." Old Wei's complexion paled. Rong Wei bitterly smiled. "Grandmaster Ningqin, it isn't that we don't want to agree, but the blue orchid grows very slowly. It takes 1,000 years for one to mature, and it has many uses. Right now, our sect's entire stock is only 7 stalks." Feng Qing's eyes brightened. "Grandmaster, the Hidden Fog sect is very sincere. If possible, you might as well take a step back." She didn't know what gray threadgrass was, but the value of 7 blue orchid flowers was enough to make anyone's heart race. In the past, Sky Declaring Pavilion had auctioned off one, and the final price had been so high that it left one dumbfounded. Qin Yu frowned. After a long silence, he slowly said, "Then 7. Rong Wei said, "Deal." Old Wei opened his mouth as if he wanted to say something, but in the end he chose to remain silent. Blue orchid flowers were indeed precious and could be called the Hidden Fog sect's ultimate treasure. But as long as the mystic realm existed, they could continuously produce them. Compared to that, the gray threadgrass that could help the dark star ice serpent transform its bloodline was far more important. How long will Grandmaster Ningqin need to deliver the gray threadgrass? Qin Yu thought for a moment. 3 months. Rong Wei had a difficult expression on his face. "Can you deliver 2 of them within a month? The rest can be made up after 3 months." "Of course." Feng Qing said, "According to the rules, the Hidden Fog sect will also need to pay 1/3 of the reward in advance." Old Wei took a deep breath. In 3 days, the Hidden Fog sect will deliver 2 blue orchid flowers to Grandmaster Ning Qin. But I ask that Grandmaster and Miss Feng Qing keep this transaction a secret. Do not mention it to anyone else. Qin Yu smiled. Of course. Even if the Hidden Fog sect didn't mention this, he still had to explain this point. Otherwise, Zhou would inevitably be noticed, and a series of unpredictable consequences would occur. After discussing proper business, Rong Wei relaxed. Although he had paid a great price, he had still completed the sect's mission. Cough! Grandmaster Ning Qin, I have a personal request. I wonder if Grandmaster can make a trip to the Hidden Fog sect and teach us a lesson on cultivating spiritual objects? Of course. This doesn't involve Grandmaster's specific methods. I only need to point out a general direction. Feng Qing's eyes brightened. To be invited by the Hidden Fog sect to teach. There had never been a beast trainer in Sky Declaring Pavilion who had such an honor. This was a great honor. If there is time in the future, I will consider it. Sky Declaring Pavilion's reception and trading area only occupied a small portion of the overall layout. The larger area was allocated to the cultivators of the building according to their status. Although he had concealed his true strength according to Grandmaster Ning Qin's request, the Mid-Morning City Branch Division naturally wouldn't treat him on the same level as ordinary beast trainers. There were 3 independent wooden buildings and the surrounding courtyards that were around 3 to 4 acres in size. This was where he would live and work from now on. There was a small building near the lake that was covered in vines. Opening the door, one could see the beautiful scenery of the lake. This was where Qin Yu lived. Now he was sitting on a soft sofa in the hall on the first floor. Standing in front of him were 10 respectful youths. They were the disciples he had chosen. Teacher. They knelt to the ground and bowed. The so-called secret disciple was only a relatively nice-sounding title. Their status was a bit higher than that of an apprentice. They helped beast trainers complete experiments, recorded all sorts of complex data on spirit beasts, and were also responsible for daily care. Only by truly obtaining recognition could they become a true disciple and receive the orthodox teachings of a beast trainer. Even so, as they knelt on the ground, the young disciples were still excited. Although they had already guessed that their teacher was strong, it was only after arriving here that they had a more direct understanding. The stronger one was, the larger their residence would be. This was one of the simplest rules in Sky Declaring Pavilion to judge one's strength. And their teacher's manner was at the top of the entire Sky Declaring Pavilion. Just thinking about it left them excited. The only bad thing was that their teacher had chosen far too many secret disciples. If they wanted to stand out and become a true disciple, it wouldn't be simple at all. In particular, there was a difficult character to deal with. Several people looked at Yundai with worry in their eyes. Qin Yu's eyes swept over them. He smiled and said, "Rise. Starting from today, you will follow me and learn. The only thing you must remember is to speak less and do more. Do you understand what I mean?" "Yes, teacher," the disciples respectfully said. Suddenly there was a loud cry. A burning heat rose up between the heavens and earth. Waves rose up on the surface of the calm lake. With a howling of the wind, a massive flaming bird flapped its wings as it flew over. There was a crown on its head, and its eyes were like fire crystals, filled with a majestic aura. Each and every movement it made emitted a formidable pressure. This was the skylark that had evolved into a fire phoenix. Behind it was a small fireball that flapped its wings as hard as it could. After a cry of surprise, it suddenly accelerated and landed on Qin Yu's shoulder, happily humming against his neck. Seeing this, the eyes of the disciples were filled with deep envy. Was this the fire phoenix that had recognized their teacher as master? The feeling it gave off was even stronger than the rumors made it out to be. They had no idea when they would be able to reach their teacher's level and have such a formidable spirit, beast, recognize them as master on its own. Qin Yu didn't care about the disciples' expressions. He smiled and reached out a hand to stroke its feathers. His eyes fell on the rippling surface of the lake. Chapter 697. Sun Xiangzhang walked through the entrance of the External Affairs Division. He nodded at the smiling External Affairs Division director and said, "I have come to take my reward for treating the moon praying beast." The External Affairs Division director was a thin man. He flattered, "If Mr. Sun was able to complete the mission in such a short period of time, I fear it won't be long before you rise to the middle Silver Moon realm." He handed over a sealed box with both hands. "Your reward is in here. Please inspect it." He had a sense of propriety. He was clearly flattering Qinyu without causing others to feel disgusted. Sun Xiangzhang opened the box. He glanced over it and said, "There's no problem." He closed the box and prepared to leave. Another person entered through the entrance. Looking at his clothes, he was a secret disciple of a beast trainer. "I am Mr. Ning Qin's secret disciple. This is the token." Sun Xiangzhang paused. He knew with a glance that the token was real. But in his memories, Grandmaster Ning Qin didn't have this young man among his disciples. "You are Mr. Ning Qin's secret disciple." Facing Sun Xiangzhang's suspicious gaze, Qinyu smiled and said, "Yes, I followed a teacher's side. It was only later that I came to Sky Declaring Pavilion." Sun Xiangzhang immediately remembered that Grandmaster Ning Qin had once said that he had another secret disciple who would come later. It seemed that it was this young man. If he could be chosen by Grandmaster Ning Qin and be kept by his side, his talent must be outstanding. Perhaps he had the chance to become the Grandmaster's true inner disciple. Sun Xiangzhang's eyes softened. "If you study at the Grandmaster's side, as long as you work hard, you will have great achievements in the future. I am Sun Xiangzhang. If you encounter any problems in the future, you can come find me." Qinyu cupped his hands together. "Thank you for the advice, Mr. Sunday." This secret disciple was something he had prepared for himself. It would be more convenient for him to act in the future. Sun Xiangzhang smiled. "What are you doing here?" Qinyu said, "Teacher has a package for me to take." Although the External Affairs Division director didn't understand why a little apprentice like him would be valued so highly by Mr. Sun, he had been in this position for over a decade. He naturally wasn't lacking in social connections. He turned and gave some orders. Soon, someone delivered a box. As he saw the sender's information, his eyes widened. Hidden Fog Sect. His smile became even brighter. "Little brother, Mr. Ning's things are here. Would you like to take a look?" Qinyu shook his head. "I have no right to look through teacher's things." He took the box and bowed to Sun Xiangzhang after thanking him. "Mr. Sun, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." After leaving the External Affairs Division, Qinyu didn't stop. He directly returned to Rising Lake. Rising Lake was the name of the manor. It was unknown who had named it, but Qinyu was too lazy to change it, so he kept the name. As he entered, he ran into several young cultivators who were walking out. As they saw Qinyu and the box in his hands, their eyes widened. But very quickly they regained their composure and cupped their hands. "Eldest senior brother!" Qinyu nodded. Without speaking to them, he quickly vanished from sight. "Humph!" A young man coldly snorted, a gloomy expression on his face. "I don't know where this brat came from, but he was lucky enough to be chosen by the Grandmaster first, yet he dares to be so arrogant." His name was Li Hao, and he was one of the registered disciples. A female disciple quietly said, "It's not as simple as just good luck." Qinyu followed teacher's orders just now and went to the External Affairs Division to collect the package. Moreover, he is the only one who can freely enter and exit teacher's residence. It was clear that this eldest senior apprentice brother was favored by teacher more than any of them. Li Hao clenched his teeth. Sooner or later, I will find out just what he relied on to obtain teacher's trust. Only by figuring it out would he have a chance to replace him. In a small building by the lake, Qin Yu held the token in his hand and entered. With a thought, he activated the array formation, isolating himself from the outside world. He quickly entered the training room and placed the box on the stone platform. 2 flowers, wrapped in transparent bubbles, appeared in his line of sight. This was a way to preserve the efficacy of a spiritual object. As long as one gently touched it, it would shatter. Qin Yu didn't hesitate. With a light paw sound, a blue orchid appeared in his hand. An extremely rich fragrance rushed into his nose and mouth. A shiver rose up from the depths of his soul, turning into an irrepressible desire to swallow. His goal was the blue wonder flower in his hand. Subconsciously, he sucked in a deep breath. The flower petals fell off on their own, dissipating into gas that entered his body through his nose and mouth. In the blink of an eye, the entire blue wonder flower vanished from sight. Then, a feeling as warm as water wrapped around Qin Yu's soul. Faint traces of a gentle strength constantly seeped into his soul, repairing his soul that had yet to recover from its severe wounds and had also been ravaged by the ashes of ashes. An hour later, the soul-repairing strength disappeared. Qin Yu reached out a hand and took the second flower, sucking it into his body. After a long time, the training room opened from the inside, and Qin Yu walked out with a smile on his face. The blue wonder flower was truly worthy of being the Hidden Fog sect's most precious treasure. In terms of repairing the damaged soul, it had an amazing effect. The power of the chain of stars could suppress the speed at which his soul collapsed. After absorbing these 2 blue wonder flowers, Qin Yu could extend his life for at least 2 years. Unfortunately, this heaven-defying treasure seemed to have an extremely high resistance. The effects of the second blue wonder flower were far inferior to the first one. It was around a third worse. Even if Qin Yu didn't care about wasting it, he would only be able to use 5 blue wonder flowers at most. After that, it wouldn't have any effect on him. Otherwise, if he absorbed dozens of them, he might be able to directly recover. However, there was no need to worry about wasting good things. If Qin Yu didn't need them, he could take them out to exchange for other soul-repairing treasures. After determining the effects of the blue wonder flower, Qin Yu was even more attentive to the Hidden Fog sect's request. As for the special ashline grass, it was easy to produce. There was still a month left, so there was no need to worry too much. Zhou Li furrowed her eyebrows. She didn't know anyone from the Hidden Fog sect, and because of the Truewood sect, she instinctively loathed cultivation sections. But since Miss Fengqing had asked her to come see them, Zhou Li had no reason to refuse. Moreover, she was a bit curious about this inexplicable request. She wanted to know just what was going on. "May I ask if you are Miss Zhou Li?" The young cultivator gently smiled. Zhou Li wasn't a member of the Appearance Association, but as she looked at the smiling, handsome cultivator in front of her, her complexion softened a little. "I am. Forgive me for being presumptuous, but I have no connection with the Hidden Fog sect. May I ask why you have come today?" The young cultivator cupped his hands together. "Miss Zhou Li, rest assured that I am Xiang Ziyue. I have come here on the orders of the sect to express my thanks to you." Seeing Zhou Li's puzzled expression, he continued to explain. 2 months ago, Miss Zhou Li sold an ashline grass. As for the specifics, it is inconvenient for me to speak of them, but it has been of great help to the Hidden Fog sect. Zhou Li's mouth fell open. She never imagined things would be like this. Xiang Ziyue placed a storage bracelet on the table. "I heard that Miss Zhou Li has just stepped into the cultivation world, so the Hidden Fog sect has prepared some suitable pills as a thank you gift. They should be able to help Miss Zhou Li make a breakthrough as soon as possible." After completing the task given to him by the sect, Xiang Ziyue cupped his hands together. Without giving Zhou Li a chance to refuse, he turned and left. As he walked out of Sky Declaring Pavilion, he turned his head, his eyes bright. Xiang Ziyue certainly knew why the dignified Hidden Fog sect would value a little girl who had just entered the cultivation world. Unfortunately, he didn't have the chance to see that mysterious Grandmaster Ningqin. But luckily, the other party would deliver 2 ash-lined grass within a month. He hoped that he would be able to see the Grandmaster's elegant demeanor at that time. In the reception room, a trace of divine sense was taken back from the storage bracelet. Zhou Li's expression was shaken. After the excitement passed, there was a complex look in her eyes. After the True Wood sect incident, she believed she had already repaid Qin Yu's favor. But in the end, her harvests today were all thanks to him. Unknowingly, she owed him another favor. Biting her lips, Zhou Li suppressed these thoughts. She certainly wouldn't be pedantic and abandon these pills. With the help of these pills, she was confident her cultivation could rise by several levels in a short period of time. At worst, she would repay him more in the future. Sky Declaring Pavilion's Mid-Morning City Branch Division issued the first mission to the new beast trainers. Qin Yu was assigned to treat a severely injured strange beast. Its name was Strange. Strange's name is Greedy Moon. It is a spirit beast that worships the moon and absorbs the essence of the moon to cultivate. It has a gentle temperament and does not harm living beings. Only in extremely rare circumstances will there be a mutation in the bloodline of Greedy Moon. Its head will swell up several times, and its eyes will turn silver white. It will transform into Strange. The strange beast's brain will mutate, and its soul force will rise dramatically. It will possess an extremely powerful divine sense and can easily break through all sorts of soul-sealing methods. It is extremely useful in all aspects. But after the mutation, the strange beast will be affected by a powerful soul, and its temperament will change. It will become bloodthirsty, and you will need to be extra careful when approaching it. Yun Dai's voice was calm as she read the records of the strange beast in the jade slip. This strange beast suddenly went crazy after a battle. Although it was subdued, its soul suffered a backlash, and its strength declined to less than half of its peak. What teacher needs to do is to restore the strange beast to its original state within half a month. Once this is achieved, the mission will be completed and there will be rewards. She laid down the jade slip. Teacher, the general contents are here. There is also a preliminary examination of the strange beast's injuries. The experimental building had a total of 5 floors. 3 were above ground and 2 were underground. The first floor was a public hall. The second floor was for secret disciples to use, and the third floor was Qin Yu's laboratory. The 2 underground floors were used to temporarily place spirit beasts that needed to be dealt with. For instance, this strange beast was currently on the first floor. As Yun Dai's voice fell, the secret disciples subconsciously frowned, a dignified look on their faces. Although they were far from being true beast trainers, they had already accumulated a wealth of basic common sense. Repairing soul damage was one of the most difficult ways to heal a spirit beast. Moreover, after this strange beast suffered a backlash, its consciousness became muddled and it became even more violent. This made treatment even more difficult. Qin Yu nodded. You all already know the details of the mission. According to the situation, each of you will design a treatment plan. You will be given 1 day to complete it. The most outstanding ones will be allowed to join me and participate in the treatment of this strange beast. The secret disciples' eyes widened. After a brief moment of shock, they were all pleasantly surprised. Yes, teacher. As secret disciples, they never imagined that they would be able to come into contact with the work of beast trainers from the very start. Teacher was giving them a chance. They absolutely could not miss it. As secret disciples, they also had the qualifications to read through the basic ancient texts of beast trainers. Thus, the secret disciples plunged in and crazily flipped through the materials. They soon attracted the attention of others. When the secret disciples of other beast trainers learned that they were preparing treatment plans and even had a chance to participate in the treatment process, they were all shocked and envious. Sun Xiangzhang had a look of praise. Grandmaster Ningqin is truly extraordinary. He actually thought of such a method to train his disciples. He thought for a moment and then lifted a pen to draw on a piece of paper. Take 3 nether jade lotuses and use the lotus seeds as the main ingredient. Combine them with ardent sunflowers, hyacinths, and severing cold grass. Extract the essence and smelt it into a pill. After a long time, Sun Xiangzhang put down his pen. As he looked at the modified treatment plan, his eyes lit up with anticipation. He took out a jade slip and recorded the treatment method within. Then Sun Xiangzhang called over a disciple and ordered, "Take this jade slip to Rising Lake and ask Mr. Ningqin to comment on it." This was the compromise he came up with. Since he couldn't directly obtain Grandmaster Ningqin's guidance, then he would make his own arrangements according to his mission. It wouldn't be too much to ask him to give some pointers, right? Yun Dai didn't follow Yan Jiao and the others to look through the ancient texts. Instead, she sat in her room, holding a jade slip in her hands. After a long time, she clenched her teeth. She placed the jade slip against her forehead and began to pour information into it. Soon she finished. Yun Dai hesitated for a moment and then made several changes. Only then did she let out a long breath of relief. In a short period of time, her complexion was pale and her forehead was covered with beads of sweat, as if she had exhausted a great deal of her mind. In order to obtain teacher's approval, I can only take some risks. Otherwise, when will I ever have the chance to stand out? I hope I won't be discovered. As she muttered to herself, it was unknown what she was thinking. After a brief moment, Yun Dai revealed a pained expression. Qin Yu walked out from Sky Declaring Pavilion's ancient texts. As an official beast trainer, he had the qualifications to look through most precious ancient texts. If he wanted to become a true beast trainer with rich experience in a short period of time, it was impossible. But if it was just memorizing some things, it was actually quite simple. For instance, right now, Qin Yu was constantly recalling and deepening his memory of the Rare Treasures complete book. This was an ancient text with an unknown author. It recorded all sorts of rare and precious treasures, and there were 2 chapters that specifically recorded most of the known mortal body and soul-type treasures. There were many others, but for the time being, these were the 2 that Qin Yu urgently needed. After carefully recalling several times and making sure he hadn't missed anything, his eyes brightened. The mission to treat the Wonder Beast should have been arranged by Fengqing. That woman was indeed smart. She might have already sensed something. Luckily, the time at Wudong Mountain had left a deep impression on her. For the time being, she wouldn't act rashly. He hoped that there would be some harvests from this treatment. 11 treatment plans were placed in front of him. After Yun Dai read them out, Qin Yu pointed to a jade slip without hesitation. This one is the best. This treatment plan required the use of the Thunder Cleansing Willow. After being destroyed, the willow branch had been revitalized. It contained a boundless aura of life and was a precious treasure for repairing injuries. Chapter 698. Qin Yu's seemingly simple choice actually caused a great deal of trouble for Yun Dai. She had come up with this treatment plan in hopes of obtaining approval so that she could become a true beast trainer sooner. But Qin Yu's decision was too direct. There was no explanation at all. It inevitably caused people to form some dark associations. After becoming a secret disciple, Yun Dai had always been cautious. As for Qin Yu, he hadn't revealed any abnormalities, but she didn't relax her guard because of this. Could it be that the tranquility of these past days was a deliberate disguise? After figuring out her background, he finally couldn't help but make a move. But to give up this chance because of pure speculation, Yun Dai took a deep breath and temporarily suppressed her restlessness. But she had already decided that once she sensed something was wrong, she would immediately leave. After confirming the treatment plan for the Wonder Beast, it was quickly approved. Because this was a task assigned to them, everything needed during the process would be borne by Sky Declaring Pavilion. Of course, all costs would eventually be borne by the master of the Wonder Beast, The premise was that the treatment effects could meet expectations. Carrying the metal box needed to treat the Wonder Beast, Yundai followed behind Qinyu. Beneath the envious gazes of the other secret disciples, she walked towards the entrance to the underground level. As the winner of the treatment plan, this was the reward she deserved. But as she looked at the entrance in front of her that was like the mouth of a monster, Yundai revealed a look of struggle. She finally couldn't help but ask, "Teacher, why did you choose me?" She stared closely at Qinyu, trying to find some useful clues from his face. But unfortunately, that calm face didn't reveal the slightest bit of emotion. He swept his eyes over her and lightly said, "Because your plan was the most suitable." This explanation was no different from not saying anything. Looking at Qinyu's back, Yundai bit her lips. After a breath of time, she lowered her head and followed. Sun Xiangzhang withdrew his divine sense from the jade slip. He frowned, a thoughtful look on his face. This treatment plan is indeed amazing. It fuses the boundless vitality of the thunder cleansing willow with the soul gathering wood. But it has obvious flaws. The overall treatment effect cannot compare with the seed of the nether jade lotus. Moreover, fusing the thunder cleansing willow with the soul gathering wood isn't easy. It increases the difficulty of the treatment by at least 40%. Even if I wanted to raise this disciple named Yundai, I should have made up for the flaws. I shouldn't have submitted an incomplete plan. The more Sun Xiangzhang thought about it, the more confused he became. He rubbed his temples. Why did Grandmaster Ning Qin choose it? Could it be that there was something in this treatment plan that he didn't understand? Sun Xiangzhang thought for a moment and contacted Zhou Xinhong through the internal communication method after carefully deliberating it again, and still to no avail. "Hello, Xiangzhang." A slightly tired voice came from the receiver. Sun Xiangzhang looked apologetic. "Did I disturb your rest, Mr. Zhou?" "I'm really sorry." Zhou Xinhong smiled. "It's nothing. I just finished an experiment and haven't rested yet. If you have anything to say, just say it." Sun Xiangzhang explained what he didn't know. "Mr. Zhou, you're the authority in healing spirit beast souls. I wonder if you can discover something else from this treatment plan." Zhou Xinhong was silent for a moment. "Xiangzhang, I've already looked over the treatment plan that Grandmaster Ning Qin submitted. But I am just as confused as you. However, I believe that since the great master is doing this, he must have his reasons. We might as well wait and see the results. No matter which treatment plan it was to achieve the desired effect. So the final result was the best way to test it." After hanging up the call, Sun Xiangzhang raised his head and looked in the direction of the rising lake. If he wasn't mistaken, the treatment of the exotic beast had already begun. Feng Qing stood up and saw Jiang Yun off. As the steward of the Mid-Morning City Branch Division, he had a high status in Sky Declaring Pavilion. She had to give him the respect he deserved. Of course, the shrewd and experienced Jiang Yun was even more respectful. He firmly declined her offer to see him off and turned to leave. Feng Qing turned around and sat back down. She picked up a cup of tea and took a sip. Thinking back to Jiang Yun's probing just now, she didn't reveal any flaws. Others might not know why Grandmaster Ning Qin chose Yundai's treatment plan, but she could faintly guess what it was. Comparing the number of spiritual objects he needed, it wasn't difficult to filter out his true needs. Thus, when the materials were allocated, she took the initiative to cut out some other things and added 2 more thunder cleansing willows. Although the value was still a bit high, it wouldn't arouse too much attention. Thinking about it, Grandmaster Ning Qin should be satisfied. Feng Qing hoped to obtain his help, so she naturally had to work hard to obtain his approval. Putting herself in his shoes was clearly the best way to do so. "Miss, listening to Steward Zhang's words just now, it seems that the treatment plan that Grandmaster Ning Qin chose isn't appropriate," Zhou Li hesitantly said. As a personal maid, after obtaining the young Mrs. Trust, she knew more than others. This Grandmaster Ning Qin had an extremely close relationship with the young miss. If something were to happen to him, the young miss might also be implicated. Feng Qing smiled. You don't need to worry. Since Grandmaster Ning Qin chose this treatment plan, he must be confident he can do it. Zhou Li had followed Feng Qing for the past few days and had gained some understanding of her personality. Since she said this, she was confident in herself. It seems that Grandmaster Ning Qin is fiercer than I thought. She had an envious look. In the past, Father Zhou had exhausted a great deal of time and effort in order to become a beast trainer. But even when he died, he hadn't succeeded. Feng Qing's eyes flashed. Zhou Li, if you are interested, then after you break through to the Golden Core realm, I can recommend you to Grandmaster Ning Qin. Perhaps he will accept you as a disciple and guide you in becoming a beast trainer. Zhou Li was pleasantly surprised. Miss, is that really possible? Feng Qing nodded. Since I said it, I naturally wouldn't lie to you. With how much importance Ning Qin placed on the Zhou family, if Zhou Li really wanted to become a beast trainer, he shouldn't refuse her. But unexpectedly, after a brief silence, Zhou Li slowly said, Miss, if possible, can I give this chance to someone else? A strange light flashed in Feng Qing's eyes. The person you speak of, is it your fiancé? Miss, I've already explained to you that it is impossible for me to like him. It was grandfather who forced me to agree. Zhou Li stamped her feet. You also know that the Hidden Fog sect gifted me pills. I just don't want to owe him any favors. If possible, I ask Miss to help me. Feng Qing coughed. I see. I need to think about it. We can discuss this later. Seeing Zhou Li's disappointed expression, a strange light flashed in her eyes. She thought that this really was a coincidence. Chapter 699. On the first floor of Rising Lake Laboratory Building, Yundai sat behind a test bench. She was recording all sorts of data related to the Wonder Beast that was calculated. Although the process was simple and boring, Yundai didn't dare to be careless in the slightest. This was because this data would become the basis for her subsequent treatment. As she waited for the calculation, she subconsciously looked at the tightly shut stone door. The surface of the door shined with light, isolating all prying eyes. After entering the first floor, what Yundai worried about didn't happen. The teacher didn't even glance at her. After instructing her to record the data, he entered his room and didn't come out again. Yundai let out a breath of relief and blushed. She couldn't help but curl her lips. Was this what the teacher meant by participating in the treatment process? She was clearly just helping out. However, this treatment plan clearly had flaws. If the teacher didn't have any other thoughts, then why did he choose her? Could it be that the teacher's strength had reached a level where he could ignore these flaws? Sky Declaring Pavilion's Mid-Morning City branch division had hired a total of 7 beast trainers. As new members, they hadn't made enough contributions and hadn't displayed their formidable strength yet. Thus, the treatment they received should be roughly the same. But there was an exception. The scale of Rising Lake Manor was ranked near the top of the Mid-Morning City branch division. In terms of living environment and laboratory equipment, they were all top-notch. When the other 6 beast trainers learned that Ning Qin had moved in, a thought popped up in their minds. What qualifications did he have? Thus, the newly joined beast trainers had already held 2 private gatherings. But none of them chose to inform Ning Qin, so they naturally excluded him from this small circle. Today was the 3rd time that the 6 beast trainers had gathered together. They were here to exchange information and discuss the tasks that were assigned to them by the building. They wanted to do their best to hand in excellent results. Halfway through the gathering, the 6 participating beast trainers had more or less obtained some harvests. They all had smiles on their faces, and the atmosphere was harmonious. Suddenly, one of them said, I heard that person has already begun treatment today. He didn't name anyone, but everyone knew who he was talking about. Humph! The treatment plan to save the Wonder Beast was proposed by one of his secret disciples. I found it and looked over it. Although it is brilliant, there are also great flaws. A beast trainer with a round face, small eyes, and wrinkles all over his face sneered. Indeed, there's a huge problem with that proposal. I'm really curious as to what Ning Qin relied on to make such a choice, Louis Shan said slowly. The third beast trainer smiled and said, I have a rumor here. It is said that Ning Qin's secret disciple is a very beautiful woman. There was a burst of tacit laughter, but the laughter was filled with ridicule. The first mission that Sky Declaring Pavilion had given them was the key to establishing a good first impression. For them to abandon it for the sake of a woman was simply foolish. Once the mission period ends, if he can't produce a satisfactory result, I want to see if he still has the face to continue living in Rising Lake. The Law Mark Beast trainer mocked. That's right. After the mission is over, we'll request the building to publicly announce the final results. Rising Lake, even if someone were to give it to you, it should only be given to the strongest person between us. But there was one person who didn't speak. He swept his eyes over the beast trainer beside him, his eyes cold. Stupid? You guys are the ones who have eyes but fail to see, the real idiots. If he could get that woman, so what if he failed the mission? It seemed that Ning Qin must have sent something. Damn it, if he hadn't been rejected, then this woman would already be his. Luckily, Yun Dai's bloodline hadn't fully awakened yet. Since Ning Qin knew this, he wouldn't do anything in order to obtain the best results. He still had a chance. Brother Sha, what are you thinking about? Why are you so lost in thought? A beast trainer asked. Sha Liuhe looked up, a smile on his face. It's nothing. I'm just thinking about the next mission and trying to do a better job. A sharp light flashed in his eyes. In order to avoid drawing attention to himself, he didn't plan on exposing his strength too early. But now he couldn't care about anything else. In this mission, he had to amaze everyone with a single brilliant feat. Only then would he have a chance to openly take away Yun Dai. That woman was his. 4 days passed. On the first underground floor, Yun Dai stared at the data in her hands, her eyebrows subconsciously furrowed. There was something wrong with the Wonder Beast's data. There were several key values that had large fluctuations. She couldn't determine what this meant, but without a doubt there was a problem. But her teacher still hadn't come out. If it weren't for the array formation in the laboratory being normal, she would have already knocked on his door. Suddenly, a sharp alarm sounded out. Yun Dai stood up and looked at the Wonder Beast imprisoned in the array formation. On the white paper that recorded the data, the lines fluctuated like raging waves. The Wonder Beast's body twitched, and its calculated life aura rapidly decreased at a speed visible to the naked eye. Yun Dai paled. The Wonder Beast's condition was clearly stable. So how could it suddenly deteriorate? If it really died, then her teacher's mission would naturally fail. As the secret disciple responsible for recording the data, she would inevitably have to bear a great responsibility. Looking at the laboratory door that was still tightly shut, Yun Dai didn't have time to think too much. She pressed down on the communication button on the experimental platform. Do. A busy tone sounded out from the receiver, but Yun Dai wasn't able to hear the sound of it being lifted up. She couldn't wait any longer. She placed the receiver to the side and chose to replay it. Then, Yun Dai stood up and walked towards the cage that imprisoned the Wonder Beast. She had to try and do something to save the Wonder Beast's life and also save her own destiny. Suddenly, the Wonder Beast's twitching body calmed down. It opened its eyes, revealing 2 eyes like silver moons. They coldly and indifferently looked at Yun Dai. Yun Dai stiffened and her breathing stopped. Her heart seemed to be grasped by an invisible hand, fiercely shrinking into a ball. This is bad, she moved her feet, wanting to retreat. But in the next moment, the world in front of her suddenly lost its luster. Everything dimmed and dissipated, leaving behind only those silver moon-like eyes. They constantly enlarged until they occupied her entire field of vision. Open the cage. An indifferent fluctuation of consciousness sounded out in Yun Dai's mind. It was like a god from the heavenly palace, carrying with it an unquestionable dignity. No, No. Yundai's consciousness crazily struggled, but she had lost control of her body. She could only watch as she walked forwards, step by step. She arrived at the side of the cage and cut off the energy supply from the array formation. The shining lines of the array formation rapidly dimmed and finally extinguished. Yundai's consciousness fell into despair. The wonder beast in the cage obtained its freedom. Its appearance was very comical. Beneath its massive head were 4 thin limbs. Every step it took was very careful, as if it were afraid that it would be crushed by the heavy head. But even though it walked slowly, it still quickly crossed the several meters. The wonder beast lowered its head, its indifferent eyes covering Yundai. It opened its mouth, and a sharp proboscis as sharp as a bamboo stick stretched out. It shined with an icy metallic luster as it stabbed towards her head. Death approached. Yundai could even smell the rotting stench it emitted. But she couldn't move at all. She could only helplessly watch as it approached. The proboscis touched her hair. An icy cold sensation spread through her body. In the next moment, it would pierce through her skull and suck out all of her brain. But the expected death didn't arrive. The proboscis on her head began to tremble. Then, Yundai was pulled away from her, and the 2 giant silver moons that filled her vision vanished from sight. Yundai's consciousness instantly returned to her body. She gasped for breath, but discovered that she couldn't summon any strength at all. She could only hold onto the arm behind her and lean against his chest. "Don't be afraid. It's fine now." A calm voice echoed out. Yundai saw her teacher's face. He was also looking down at her. When their eyes met, Yundai could feel a trace of apology in his eyes. Before she could discover anything more, Chinyu helped Yundai stand up. "I'll drive it back first." He stepped towards the wonder beast. Yundai's eyes subconsciously widened. Just now, she had fully experienced just how fierce it was. "Teacher!" Before she could speak, Yundai's mouth fell open. Her face was stunned. It had a large head and a small body. Its eyes were like silver moons, and it could control its consciousness. This wonder beast that was filled with danger was actually lying on the ground, whimpering. It was afraid of her teacher. Greedy Moon was originally a gentle and kind beast. After it mutated into a wonder beast, its heart had been distorted by the sudden rise in its soul force. It had become cruel and bloodthirsty. It could only rely on spells placed into its soul to forcefully control itself. It simply didn't know what fear was. Moreover, this wonder beast had suffered a backlash, and its savage nature had sharply risen. But what did she see now? This wonder beast was actually sobbing in front of her teacher. In particular, from beginning to end, Yundai hadn't seen what her teacher had done. He had only walked over. How was this possible? You looked at the wonder beast lying on the ground. His thoughts stirred and blood energy, fluctuations, spread out from his body. The wonder beast immediately cried out in pain as if it had been placed in a flame, as he thought this was because of the ancient bloodline. The skylark that had mutated into a fire phoenix was like this, and the savage wonder beast was also like this. Yu was very curious. Just why was this happening? His eyes flashed, and he suppressed these thoughts. Now wasn't the time to delve into this. Yu lightly said, "Go back to where you belong." The wonder beast scrambled back to the center of the imprisonment array formation. You casually activated it, and the array formation lit up once more. He turned and looked at Yundai. "Are you all right?" Yundai. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't have believed it. It was fine if he could scare away a savage wonder beast, but he could even directly command it. I'm fine." Yundai's dizzy mind seemed to be torn apart by a bolt of lightning. She recalled some information she had inadvertently seen before. The peak of beast trainers. Because they have tamed trillions of spirit beasts, they are contaminated with their aura and fuse it with themselves, forming an invisible power of control. They naturally deter all spirit beasts in the world, and no one dares to disobey them. Could it be that her teacher was an existence that had stepped onto the transcendent peak of beast trainers? Yun Dai thought of Mr. Sun, Xiangzhang's performance. Perhaps he knew this, so he was so respectful to her teacher. That's right, that must be it. Otherwise, with Mr. Sun's status, why would he take out a treatment plan and allow her teacher to comment on it? Moreover, it could be explained why her teacher chose her treatment plan. This was because with her teacher's strength, there was no need for him to care. There were still many things she couldn't figure out. For instance, with her teacher's strength, why would he hide his identity and join Sky Declaring Pavilion in such a low-key manner? But seeing the truth with her own eyes was far more convincing than guesses. Looking at Yun Dai's shining eyes and her flushed face, it wasn't hard for Qinyu to guess the reason. But since even he couldn't figure it out, he naturally couldn't explain it. I have already prepared the medicine. Feed it to the Wonder Beast 3 times a day. During this time, do not disturb me. Leaving behind 3 sealed round containers, Qinyu turned and walked back into the laboratory. The door slowly closed and the isolation array formation activated. Yes, teacher. Yun Dai respectfully bowed. She looked at the 3 containers, her eyes solemn and heavy, as if she were on a pilgrimage. Even with her teacher's strength, he still needed 4 days to prepare them. The medicine inside was absolutely the highest level of existence. To a beast trainer apprentice, just looking at this legendary potion was already a great blessing. Much less if she could personally use it, perhaps she could obtain a great harvest from this potion. She took a deep breath and steadied her trembling hands. Then, she carefully picked up a container and opened the seal. Ah! With a loud cry, her eyes widened. She looked at the container and saw a strange and sticky mass. No matter how she looked at it, it seemed as if it had been crudely crushed and mixed together. But just as this thought rose, Yun Dai suppressed it. How could she dare to have such disrespectful thoughts towards her teacher? Perhaps this was a special tempering method that she had never come into contact with before. In the cage, the incomparably frightened Wonder Beast suddenly sniffed. Then it violently stood up and stared straight at Yun Dai, its silver eyes filled with longing. Roar! With a deep roar, Yun Dai was so frightened that she nearly broke the container. You want this medicine. Looking at the Wonder Beast, restlessly pacing back and forth, Yun Dai suddenly had an intuition that she might be able to witness a miracle. Holding the container in her hands, she walked towards the cage. The missions that Sky Declaring Pavilion assigned were divided into different deadlines depending on the difficulty, 10 days, half a month, or 1 month. For the newly joined beast trainers, the first mission they received was generally of similar difficulty and was given a half-month limit. Unless they could come up with a result that far surpassed everyone's expectations, no one would truly delay until the deadline. After all, the earlier they completed a mission, the better it would be for them to display their strength. Joining Sky Declaring Pavilion didn't mean that they could sit back and relax. On the contrary, the more outstanding one's performance was, the more resources they could obtain and the chance to reach a higher level. Thus, on the 5th day of the mission, one of the 7 newly joined alchemists had already smoothly completed the mission and received a medium-grade Earth Step mission score. For the Heaven, Earth, and Mortal levels, a medium-grade Earth Step mission score was already a very high evaluation. This meant that after completing the basic mission, one would have an even more outstanding performance. On the 6th day, 2 people completed their missions, and on the 7th day, 2 more people completed their missions. The lowest evaluation was still a high-grade human step. It could be said that their strength was outstanding. Many veteran beast trainers sighed inwardly. From the 8th day onwards, there were only 2 people who hadn't handed in their missions, Ningqin and Xiaoliuha. Because of the outstanding performance of the 5 beast trainers who joined at the same time, the results of these 2 people were the focus of attention. It was indeed strong to be the first to complete a mission, but everyone knew that since they dared to give up their advantage in time, they must be confident in the final result. Among them, Xiao Liuhe wasn't too conspicuous. Most of the gazes fell on Rising Lake, on the quiet laboratory building. The reason was simple. It wasn't just the 6 new beast trainers that were dissatisfied with Qin Yu moving into Rising Lake Manor. Everyone wanted to know just how much weight he had. Besides the elder senior apprentice brother who had been sent out by the teacher and Yun Dai who had entered the first floor of the laboratory building, the other secret disciples were all gathered together. After becoming a secret disciple, when they didn't have a mission, they could flip through basic ancient texts and do some experiments that they had the ability to complete. The materials they used would be reimbursed by the laboratory. This was the reason why they longed to become a secret disciple of a beast trainer. Otherwise, even if they bought basic ancient texts, they still wouldn't be able to become a true beast trainer without a massive number of experiments. Currently, the public laboratory on the 2nd floor was quiet. The secret disciples were each minding their own business. Although it seemed calm, it was actually filled with an oppressive atmosphere. Pa! The crystal tube fell to the ground and shattered to pieces. Yan Jiao took a deep breath and looked up to meet everyone's eyes. Do you think there will be any problems with teacher? As their teacher's disciples, they could certainly feel the turbulent undercurrents beneath the calm surface. By becoming a secret disciple, they could obtain benefits, but they also had to bear the corresponding price. They were already one with their teacher. If things didn't go smoothly for their teacher, their future road would surely be bumpy. Yan Jiao, what do you mean? Li Hao was expressionless. No matter what rumors you hear outside, I have absolute confidence in teacher. That's right. Teacher can absolutely complete the treatment. He hasn't come out yet. Perhaps he wants to obtain a better treatment result. Yes, that must be it. Everyone began to speak up. But contrary to their firm tones, they all had complex expressions on their faces. Yun Dai's treatment plan was flawed. This was an indisputable fact. Could it be that the rumors were true? Was it because he lusted after her beauty? Sun Xiangzhang completed a highly difficult experiment, and the results were within the range of his predictions. He was tired, but also relaxed. He walked out of the laboratory and sat down on a sofa. He leaned back and closed his eyes to rest. Tell me what happened these past days. Yes, teacher. The disciple was well aware of his habits. Without any hesitation, he recounted everything that had happened recently. As expected, when the 7 new beast trainers were mentioned, the teacher's fingers that were tapping the sofa paused. This was a sign of his concern. Lu Shan, Yi Feihua, and the other 6 beast trainers have successfully completed their tasks. The highest evaluation is medium-grade Earth level, and the lowest is high-grade human level. The only ones that have yet to submit their tasks are Ning Qin and Xiao Liuhe. Shua. Sun Xiangzhang opened his eyes, surprise on his face. Mr. Ning Qin hasn't finished yet? With the Grandmaster strength, although treating a wonder beast was complicated, it shouldn't be too difficult. He should be able to complete it in 3 days. He feared that the greatest possibility was that there were flaws in the treatment plan to begin with. It would be extremely difficult to achieve the desired results. Yes, teacher. The disciple didn't understand why Sun Xiangzhang valued Ningqin so much. He hesitated for a moment and said, "Right now, many people are waiting for the final result." He didn't speak too clearly, but Sun Xiangzhang already understood. He sneered. All day long they are scheming against each other. If they have the time and effort, they might as well do more experiments and improve their own strength. He thought for a moment. Send someone to pay attention to this matter. Once Mr. Ning Qin submits his task, immediately inform me. With the Grandmaster strength, he should be able to complete the mission. But there were flaws in the treatment plan, and the final result shouldn't be too good.